going on, everybody? Happy Easter, and welcome to part two of FlagPlus Football's First and Goal podcast. I'm your host, Brent Bodkin.
And I'm Quaysie Maule.
Episode number one went kind of long, so episode number two we decided to film on a separate day. So we're doing it Easter Sunday here. I know everybody has a lot of plans, or hopefully has a lot of plans, family, friends, and all that stuff, loved ones. So we're gonna get this done with and get out of your way real quick. But before we do, obviously, we want to touch on obviously the women's. We want to touch on all the 5v5 and touch on the co-ed. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 5v5 co-ed as the first division. So let's hop into it. Uh, Bit of a late schedule this week here for 5v5, right? I mean, we have one upcoming game for week 14. That's going to be Team Quebec U18 taking on the Hungry Hippos. That's going to be, pardon me, that's taking place this Thursday, April 9th in Chateauguay. Week 13, though, wrapped up this past week. We had four games to talk about, and looking at it, three of them were blowouts. One of them went down to the wire, but three of them were blowouts. Some of those blowouts I'm talking about, red zone. That red zone defense, they're smothering opponents right now, right? They beat Green Monster this past Monday by a score of 41-0. That was super impressive. Marc-Andre Reeves, 25 of 35, 269 yards passing, six TDs in that game. He was phenomenal, obviously, offensively. And again, their defense just smothered the Green Monster offense. Quarterback Jason D'Souza had 95 yards total, four INTs, right? So that's obviously not a recipe for success, at least offensively, right? So shout out to those guys that coming out defensively and just smothering their opponents. Like I said, they picked off D'Souza four times, three of those going to Marvin Renault. So shout out to Marvin Renault. He's been in the league for a long time. He has three touchdown receptions and three INTs. So I'm pretty sure he'd be a player of the week. And then they turned around 2 days later on Wednesday. They laid a beat down 43-14 on the bench warmers, right? So again, the offense just came out flying. Defense again holding a team to two touchdowns is pretty solid. When you can hold two different teams to a combined two touchdowns over two games, you know you're doing something right.
Yeah, it's a great job for them. Plus, these are the two last games of their season, right? So they basically finished their season week 13. So they're going off on a high note and pretty much are basically gonna be ready for playoffs, So they're finishing strong. One thing you don't want to do is like you don't want to drop any games where you shouldn't. And I believe they are better than both these two teams they played, but they play to their expertise. So, um, great job for them. And looking at the playoff breakdown real quick here, like there's no buys, right? So it's 1 versus 8. So I think they locked themselves in as that fourth seed. Um, so I'm pretty sure they'll play Hungry Hippos
Yeah.
in the first round, most likely. Yeah, they should play Hungry Hippos in the first round, most likely. So, I mean, finishing off, as you said, only allowing two touchdowns in the last two games, it's pretty good. You're going off on a high note.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, yeah, you don't want to, I mean, there's not too much they did wrong in either game. I mean, you give up two touchdowns, that's fine. But if you give up two touchdowns over two games, that's really something remarkable. You mentioned the Hungry Hippos right now, again, locked into to where they are in the standings. They fell 24-7 last Sunday, so a week ago, against Flags Don't Lie. That game took place in Chateauguay. Looking at that one, a solid outing for Olivier Sabarin. Four TD passes in that game, nearly 250 yards passing. He came out, Sam Anastasopoulos, but he mined six receptions, 102 yards, two touchdowns. Kareem Maggi, two touchdowns in that game as well, right? So a solid outing for Flags Don't Lie. And a bounce back for them, right? So Flags Don't Lie, they actually lost. So the one game I talked about that was close, right? They lost to Flag Avengers 29-26 last Saturday down in Brasada. I don't know if you had a chance to check that game out, but that game obviously going down to the wire. Xavier Couture, Tam Valedev leading their team, three touchdown passes combined between the both of those guys in that 29-26 victory. So a good bounce back for Flags Don't Lie again after losing a heartbreaker 29-26 to Flag Avengers just one day earlier.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I was not there. That game was played at noon, so it was it was a pretty early game. But yeah, they ended up losing that game. They bounced back just before. I mean, playoffs is going to be in a while. That's the only thing that's kind of frustrating in a 15-week schedule is that even though your regular season's over, you still have to wait until playoffs start, right? So they end up losing versus Flag Vengers, but they bounce right back and they get a win versus the Hungry Hippos, score 24-7. So again, it's always good to go to playoffs with momentum, and even though the fact that Hungry Hippos is not one of the top three teams, it's still a good win. And only allowing 7 points is pretty good on their part.
So yeah, like you said, schedule. Well, I said earlier, right? Team Quebec U18 takes on our Hungry Hippos. That's this coming Thursday in Chateauguay, April 9th. And then, like you said, though, Quaysie, you're right. Right, week 15 is when its regular season wraps up. That's going to be Tuesday, two games. Tuesday, April 14th, Les Benchwarmers against Team Quebec U16. And then the final game in the regular season will be one day later, Wednesday 15th, as the Hungry Hippos take on Quebec U18, right? So, like you said, for a couple of teams, that's going to be kind of a long way to the playoff start. So maybe they, I don't know, get some practice, get a couple
Yeah,
fields, get some reps in or something, or organize a scrimmage against another team, and maybe they can get some reps in because yeah, it's going to be kind of a long time to wait. I mean, right now we're April 5th, right? So regular season doesn't end until another 10 days, and you still got to wait a couple days after that for the playoffs to begin. So hopefully the rest of the teams who are done the regular season could at least stay fresh in some form or
yeah,
another.
exactly. Some of these teams are gonna I think you're gonna have like about 3 weeks off. So
Yeah.
on a good note, it seems like the weather's getting well. Today it's not the best day, but
Yeah, not so much. Yeah.
it does seem the it is heating up.
Yeah.
So maybe around like mid April, maybe it's gonna be warm outside to go out, find a field, bring some guys, get some reps going. So you're not just coming in as like the season just started. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues that some teams are gonna have when they're off 2 to 3 weeks, and you have guys that are like not playing on multiple teams and they only play on one team during the year or during the season. You're kind of coming in after 3 weeks, you're a bit rusty, and it's like you have to do a reset, but you're not in reset mode, you're in playoff mode. So definitely go out there, get some reps, go meet up your quarterbacks, meet up some defensive guys, and just kind of get the game still going. So when you go into your first game of playoff, your first round of playoffs, you're ready to go and you're not a step behind.
Yeah, that's it. I think so. We talked about this before, right, on this pod. Like, I think that when you have that buy, which essentially this is what it is, right? It's a buy if you have this many weeks off, right? It's a couple of buys. Unless you have a bunch of players who are banged up, little injuries here and there, there's no real benefit to having that much of a rest between
Yeah.
your end of the regular season and the start of the playoffs.
Mhm. No, it's something I would not like. Again, I would not want to do it. I think for my co-ed 5v5 team, I think we're off for like a month. So
Yeah, that's too
definitely,
long.
it's a big break.
Mhm.
Lucky for us, pretty much everyone else plays on different teams, so it's not like no one's gonna. It's not like we're gonna be kind of just chilling. A lot of teams are gonna be having reps, end of the season, the 15, and then playoffs before that. But um, yeah, you don't want a 3 week bye. It's something you definitely don't want unless you have injuries, right? Injuries is probably that's the best situation. If you have some guys that are banged up,
Yeah,
2 3 weeks off is it's huge, right? But in
yeah,
this case, I don't think a lot. I mean, I don't think that's gonna. I don't think it'll benefit you that much in this case.
and not at
Um,
all. Well, like I said, right? Teams. Hopefully, they can get out there, get onto a field. You don't even have to rent the stadium. Like a turf field, right? Just get it, like you said, the weather's getting better. Again, not today. It's like a monsoon outside, but I mean, it's getting good. Most of the snow is gone, at least for now. But it's early April. We'll still have another snowstorm or two, unfortunately. I
yeah,
mean, that's how life works. But when you have a day where the last couple days in a row that you can see grass on all the fields, get outdoors, get outside, man. Even if it's not a whole team, right? If even if you don't have your whole team and another team, three, four guys, three, four ladies, whatever the case may be, mix it up and just throw the ball around, man. Just get some reps, work on some plays, whatever, and do something, right? Don't just sit around and if you don't have other games to play, right? Just get out there and do something.
yeah, exactly. Let's go to competitive. I'm actually laughing. Competitive. The season only started like they started the first week in week 3.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Just kind of looking at the schedule now, it kind of just popped up. They started literally 2 weeks later after everybody else. Um, so we're technically week 14 is when the season basically ends for every team. So they don't have week 15; they finish week 14. Week 13, we had a few games. I believe we touched based on no. Did we touch
We didn't.
base? No, we did Wednesday. So we went from we talked about pretty much every team except for, and then we didn't get to talk about Braves and Raw Dogs, right? Because we did last time we did the podcast on the first. Or am I going crazy?
Yeah, that was the first, but we did all the 6v6.
Okay, exactly. No, but I'm saying the
Yeah.
last pod. So we didn't talk about any of the games from Saturday, March 28th, right?
13, no, we didn't. No.
No. Okay, so that's okay. So we had a few games. We had a couple upsets too. Um, One game we had Naproxen that knocked off Raw Dogs, and it's a pretty big upset. And then you also had KGP that took out Flag Moi on the sack. So I think that's a pretty big thing. And then we kind of talked about it. Montreal Magic then beat Blue Dry 10.1, and they did take care of business. Yes, on Thursday. So 3 days ago, they took care of business, and they won that game 34-31, and that's pretty much what happened for week 13. Anything else? Anything that looks looked out to you for that week?
Yeah, I mean it's the Raw Dogs, right? I mean, listen, their last four games, right? They're 1-3, and their last four games, and the only W they got was a 5 point win over winless No Regard, right? That was 30-25, back a couple Saturdays ago, back on March 21st, right? So if we No Regard, I mean, yeah, okay, Jeff Rosenblatt, his veteran squad, Adam Rosen, Daniel Mancini, Jordan Fernandez. Basically, it's half of it's the core from the Silent Ticklers helping out this team, right? And then you got obviously Breezebois, shout out to Anthony Breezebois, Ahmed Boubacar, and those guys, Craig Ye, right? So it's a talented team, top to bottom, a lot of experience in that. Guys know how to win, but I mean, they're going. This regular season is finished, right? They finished 6-4. These guys are the definition of backing into the playoffs, right? I mean, you barely beat No Regard, and then you look at the rest of their losses, right? Like I said, tough loss in the Proxen this past Monday. They lose by 5 to KGP Elite, and then they get smoked this past Wednesday by the Braves, right? 38-12. So I mean, this is not how you want to be rolling into the playoffs for a Raw Dog squad who, prior to the slide, right? Again, losing three out of the last four games. Prior to that, right? They had won one, two, three, four, five in a row, right? And big wins too. Like they knocked off Flagmont Sack by 20. They beat No Regard in the first matchup. Okay, that's not saying much, but then they beat Montreal Magic 39-26. They blew out KGP Elite earlier in the year, right? 37-18. And they beat Blue Dry 35-26, right? So you're a Rog Dogs team, pardon me, to start it off real hot. And now towards the season when you want to be playing your best ball, you're cold as ice, right? So I mean,
Yeah, they're doing the
they have the
opposite.
talent to go all the way. But the question, of course, and I'll ask you, right? You play 5v5 now. Like, how much confidence do you have in this team come playoff time?
Not much. Just because how the standings kind of work, you want to go off on a high note, right? It's definitely something you want to do. You want to come off with a win, or if you do have a loss, you want to make sure at least it was close. The last game they did play against, their last matchup that they played, try and just look at here, was Naproxen. I kind of looked at it like briefly going down the stretch. Sorry, down the field because I was in St. Leo as well. And I believe they went for this game ended in overtime. They went for one, they got it, and Proxen went for two, and they got it. So basically, they lost in overtime, which is like I guess it's not the worst case situation, but they're a way better team than Proxen. So the fact
Yeah,
that
that's it. That's
they're
exactly.
yeah, the fact that they're even going to overtime with this team, I think that's a big issue. And then when you're coming in playoffs, they're not playing the Prox in first round. I don't think they're gonna play in the Prox round. I think they're gonna probably end up with Montreal Magic. So I mean, Montreal Magic's also struggling. So I mean, at least it's a team like that. I feel like if they played a Flag Moi or even a KGP, I think they would be in trouble. But I think maybe they'll get out of the first round against Montreal Magic just because they're struggling, but they're not in the best situation that they would be from the start of the season. How you're saying they won, I think they lost the first week, and then after they won four in a row, and they end up losing one and then three games. Right, I'm like kind of off
Three or
there.
four. They lost 3 or 4
Yeah,
games.
exactly. So I mean, I would not want to be in their spot right now.
And you bring up an interesting point, right, in terms of the playoff matchup, because right now, like I said, they're locked into that third spot, right? Because Flagmont, Sack, they're done. They're in the fourth spot, right? At six, and both teams are 6-4. KGP now, KGP is interesting because they're in fifth, right? So KGP, hypothetically speaking,
Yeah,
looking at the
can't.
standings,
Yeah, you can't. They can't jump them. That's the issue because it's gonna be a three-way tie, and then it's gonna go points again. So they have that third. They have that third seed locked up, as you were saying.
well, yeah, so yes, yeah, well, that's exactly. Unless somehow KGP wins and they let it, they don't let it more than 11 points, right? Because there's 11 point difference between
Yeah,
Raw Dogs defensively
exactly.
and KGP Elite. I don't think that's gonna happen. With KGP Elite taking on the Proxen, you never know, but I highly doubt that's gonna happen. So yeah, so let's just say like you're saying. So let's assume they're gonna finish third. So they're taking on ideally a Montreal Magic team, right? So Montreal Magic is interesting, right? Because Montreal Magic, their regular season isn't finished, right? They take on the 8-1 Braves tomorrow at Stade Bear. Now, listen, obviously Montreal Magic is not the same team as before. As AJ Gomez was their best player, and he's obviously not in the league anymore. Congrats to him, by the way. He just had a little girl the other day, so congrats to him and Christina on that. Want to make sure to give them their shout out. Uh, but his Montreal Magic team hasn't been the same without him. It's plenty obvious to see, right?
Mhm.
But I have to imagine Dan Lazera, right? I can't see him not getting up
No,
to
for
play the
sure.
Braves.
Like they're gonna come out swinging for sure. This game, it's Montreal. It's Magic versus Braves. There's a rivalry there, but I don't think they have enough firepower to come out a win for the regular season. Playoffs is completely different. I think Montreal Magic takes the win. They finish 9-1. Party Crashers has a tiebreak in them, so they get the first seed. Braves get the second. Raw Dogs get third. Flag Moi would probably switch or KGP. I think KGP is going to win next game. They'll get the fourth, but at the end of the day, 4 and 5 play versus each other anyways. So we'll get the fifth. Montreal Magic's going to lose, so they'll go. They'll keep in the sixth spot, being 3-7. The Proxon's going to get their. I don't see for Proxon being KGP. They'll be 3-7, and then blue draw. We're gonna have a three-way tie with 3-7, but again, points against. It's gonna basically pretty much bring. Unless actually, you know what's crazy? If Montreal Magic gets destroyed by Braves and the Proxon has a decent match versus KGP, they might switch. The Proxon could take the
Yeah,
sixth seed, and Montreal Magic take the seventh seed.
yeah,
So
and that's exactly it, right? Because you talk about it, if they finish with the same record, right? So then it becomes uh well, it also what matters in that, right, is with Blue Dry 10.1, right? Blue Dry 10.1, they're locked into that AFC. It's 100%. It goes without saying, right? They have the worst defense in the entire
yeah,
division. They've let in 351 points, right? But they're all tied points wise with six, right? KGP, pardon me, Montreal Magic, Naproxen, and Blue Dry 10.1. So like you're talking about, I think what you're trying to say is if they end up with the same record after this week, points against is going to be the deciding factor. So you're right, Naproxen could jump Montreal Magic, which would then give you Raw Dogs against Naproxen in the first round of the playoffs. And if I'm the Raw Dogs, yeah, okay, despite what just happened against Naproxen, I'd rather face them again than face Montreal
yeah,
Magic
Montreal
in
Magic
the postseason.
exactly. And then again, Braves will play Montreal Magic first round too, so that could be very interesting.
It'd be great.
So
That'd be fantastic to see. Because I know. So I heard I listened to your point about you're saying that you're thinking the Braves should win. And I believe that as well. Like I would be mildly shocked if Montreal Magic knocked off the Braves. But again, like Dan Lazare, Isaiah Lard, right? Member of the Braves usually. Felix Boutte, Serge Pilon Jr. These guys aren't gonna lay down and quit just because
No,
they're
no,
playing the
no,
Braves,
no, no.
right?
I just think it if Montreal Magic again, I think if they had one extra season with the new core team that they had, and Danny Lazaro didn't have the bailout of age, because I mean it's your number one receiver. It's
Yeah.
so hard to have like I'm guess no again you have Felix Boutte, you have Serge, you have Nicholas Coprini. You still have good guys, but you lost your number one guy. So it's the fact that you're playing a full season without your number one guy, and your team has been struggling. I think next season, again, if AJ doesn't come back, I think he'll realize that he doesn't have that blanket, that cushion blanket anymore, and he's gonna
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
realize that he's gonna have to play different. His game is just how he plays game is gonna be different, or he's gonna have to make one of his receivers become AJ, because him and AJ were just sync. Like
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
caught at least 70% of Dan's catches, and a lot of the routes were just pure timing routes, and it worked out. The fact that he doesn't have that right now, I think that's one of the biggest issues for Montreal Magic, and it's the reason why they're not one of the powerhouse offensive teams right now. They've only scored 242 points. They do have one game left, but everybody else is in the 300s. You have Party Crashers
Yeah. Yeah.
59, Braves 340, Raw Dogs 306, Flag One 341, KGP 283, but they're gonna hit that 300 mark. And then you have Montreal Magic at 242. They're not hitting the 300 mark this year. They're not going to score 58 points on Braves.
Oh no, absolutely not.
So it just goes to a fact. It just shows how much AJ had an effect on this team.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you look even the other side of the ball, right? Defensively, looking at their stats right now, they're about the fifth best or fifth worst defense, however you want to look at it in a division, right? They've let in 288 points, which isn't horrible. But you put AJ back there, who kind of plays that deep safety role, or even or halfback, whatever you want to call it, right? He's able to erase plays over the top, and that's where you miss him most, right? And he's not in this lineup. And like you said, right, it wasn't as if they came into the season knowing that AJ wasn't going to be there, right? The way he kind of left the team slash was asked to leave the league or whatever the case may be. Right? It kind of happened kind of suddenly, right?
Mhm.
It kind of it's thrown his team for a loop because, like you said, they have a talented roster. The other guys that are still there, like Rapini, Pilon Jr., Boutte, so on and so forth, for Lard and those guys. But having AJ, like you said, is that security blanket for down Lazera. Again, these guys have been playing together for like a decade. I think both tackle and flag, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
that chemistry, like you said, between those two teams is hard to match. It's like taking Kelsey away from Mahomes,
yeah, exactly.
basically.
No, it's a
It's gonna
it's a
be two different offense.
it's a big loss.
Yeah.
So I think that's how the playoffs are going to stand. I personally think Braves are probably, unless they don't come with a full roster, because again, they're stuck in that two seed, so they're playing for nothing. Like their game means literally nothing. They win, they stay in the second seed. They lose, they stay in the second seed. So it's to a point. Maybe they don't show up with a full team. Maybe they just come with five guys. Maybe they come with six guys. Like who knows in that situation, right? Like maybe they're okay guys. Maybe we don't risk injury. Maybe like
True.
think they probably will come with a roster, but do I think it's gonna be the best roster? Probably not, unless they just want to stick it to Montreal Magic.
And 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 there you have it. And there you have it, my friend. There you have it.
But
They don't like this. Neither of the teams like each other. They hate each other, to be honest. I mean,
yeah,
there's a
but
respect there to a degree, but you've score kept these games between these two teams. I've scored kept plenty of games between these two teams. Yeah, AJ's not there. That still doesn't mean everything's like all sunshine and roses between Montreal
no,
Magic and the
no,
Braves. I,
there's there's beef between the teams, and you kind of if
yeah, that's what I'm
you look
saying.
at the history, right? You also have players like Serge, right? Serge was part of the Braves roster back in the day,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he
Yeah,
kind of got cut, not asked to come back. Isaiah made that switch. He's also playing on the Montreal Magics too, so there's that. But again, then you have to kind of look at what time they're playing at. They play on a Monday, right? They play this Monday coming up, so
yeah, seven
Easter
o'clock.
Monday. at 7 o'clock. So maybe some guys don't want to show up at 7 o'clock. So who knows? It's gonna be interesting to see. At the end of the day, I still think Braves are gonna have their Braves, depending who's there. I still think they're gonna bring 5, 6 guys. I think they're gonna score points. I think Braves are gonna score more points than KGP. So it's gonna put them. I want to say they're gonna switch roles. So KG Magic's going to go into the 7. The Prox is going to go to number 6. We're going to have an Aproxin versus Raw Dogs, and we're going to have a Montreal Magic and Braves in the first round.
All right. Well, we'll wait and see what happens. Obviously, again, that's going to be determined by what happens tomorrow night. Braves and Montreal Magic. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're going to send at least 6 guys or 5, 6 guys to Braves to the game.
Yeah,
We'll have to see. I
exactly.
don't know. I just part of me just thinks because of who they're playing. You're right. Standings wise, it means nothing. But again, just because of who they're playing and no love lost between these two sides, if I'm the Braves, I'd want to stick it to Montreal Magic and really rub their faces in it. But we'll see what happens
No,
tomorrow night.
for sure. Just to kind of finish off, week 14 also just passed, right? We had Blue Dry 10.1 play no regard.
Yeah.
They got remember that was kind of the not the game of the year, but it was a game that a lot of people wanted to see, and I was one of them. I kind of wanted to see how this game was gonna end up. Blue Dry took care of business. They ended up winning 24-12, so they got the win. I talked to Sanders a bit. Um, he's basically Sanders is kind of done with the no regard team to an extent. Um, they like it's kind of weird to say because they're I think we talked about as well. They're not division 1, like they're not competitive talent,
Uh,
but they're not intermediate talent. I think they're just in the middle. Then there
yeah.
if there was like a 1.5, they would be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I think that's
Yeah,
like
I couldn't agree more.
that's the biggest issue with them. But they're also their team. It's pride at this point, right? Like they're like why they don't want to go. They don't want to drop down. They don't want to play versus no names. They still want to play versus the top of the top, and I don't blame them, But again, this is coming from
It's like
Sanders.
they're the anti-division Dodgers.
Yeah, exactly. And this is personally coming for Sanders, right? It's about pride, 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 pride.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you looked at no regards past, I don't know, I want to say like maybe let's just say last 4 seasons. Okay,
Been
so we'll go
horrible.
winter,
They've been
spring,
horrible.
whatever.
Let's say some time. They've been horrible. The last like 4 or 5 seasons, they've been hot
Yeah,
garbage.
they won maybe 5 games. They did have that big playoff game. They end up being flag one. But at the end of the day, I think these guys still finished 1-9. Lucky for you, everyone made playoffs because you had no business being there. You got the upset. It is what it is. It happens. But in most situations, you guys don't play that game. Like it goes to point. You guys suck. You
Yeah.
guys went 1-9. You don't deserve. You don't even deserve. I'm sorry. If you go 1-9, you do not deserve to be in the playoffs, like at all. I don't give. I don't care if there's. I don't care if there's 3 teams in this division. No, just play. Like no, you should. You should not be able to go into the playoffs. So again, I think Sanders was kind of saying I think there were 6-36 in the last 4 seasons, something around those lines. Um, but it's still they have to do something because I think like you can't be happy about losing. It's impossible. I don't care who you are. Like it's like you're showing up. You're like, oh, we're losing. Like that's the mentality. Oh, we're losing. Oh, we're losing. Like to extend, you gotta get guys going. I'm not exactly sure on their roster. I'm not sure how many guys showed up for how many games. I'm not sure if they had rosters issues with their team, but they need
That's
to
usually the
change
case with these
something.
guys.
They
Sorry,
need to
sorry.
change some. Sorry, go.
My bad. No, my bad. My bad. My bad. Go.
Yeah, no, I was just saying they have to change something because like they're they're too good enough of a team to struggle the way they are. But at the end of the day, something has to be done.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, right? I mean, and that's been a problem over the years. I mean, I'm friends with like a couple guys on the team, especially like Ryan Perry, right? Like we used to go to the same gym together and that. And like I would talk to him about his team, and he'd be like, "Yeah, man, like you can never question the talent on this roster, right? Like even going this season, like so Kendall Myers is like the captain of the team. There's him, there's Ryan, Terry Graville, you have Zachary Alexis, God, is that Joy Nataro, right? One of the top players in this division. I feel like Joy Nataro is one of the most underrated players in FPF period, but he's there. Jordan Alexis, like there's Kenny Bay, there's talent all over this team, and it's just they in Jordan McLaren, like they can't put it all together. And you got first. I used to point to the quarterback, like Miles Gibbon, a good guy, just not the guy you want leading your team in terms of being able to get it done, right? Either injuries or just
Not being
uh,
able to commit.
inconsistent play
Mhm.
has kind of defined his return to FPF, at least with no regard. They put in this year's Zachary Deschamps, right? So maybe they figured, okay, we'll get a change here. A little bit of a younger guy, and same thing, inconsistent play. And you look at the roster on paper. It's my bad. I forgot to throw in Sanders as well, right? They have one of the most talented rosters from top to bottom. It's just they can't stay out of their own way in terms of guys missing games, which happens, right? Guys getting older, injuries happen, inconsistent lineup. They have a lot of subs usually. But then even when they're all there on the field, it's like blown coverages, drop balls, like getting penalties at the wrong time, right? Extending drives for your opponents. And they can't put it together. And like you said, right, speaking to your point, they have to do something. I don't know if it's do you want to go off with Deschamps now after kind of like one season and try to find somebody else? Do you maybe change up the core of your roster? Because when you look up and down this team, right, they have speed, they have size, they have a lot of experience. It's just they're always at the bottom of the standings. And you look at it, I remember writing about them when I used to write for Division One. It was the same thing. They're at the bottom of Division One. They're at the bottom of this 5v5 division, right? And it's are they too good for intermediate? Yeah, I believe they are, but at this point, you might as well try that just because maybe they can maybe use as they go into the not the minor leagues. I don't want to insult intermediate because there are some really good players and it is a good division. But if you can go down there, if you're no regard, and find out what exactly you need, spend the
Mhm.
season down there working on some stuff. Yeah, will you blow some teams? Yes, but you're not going to blow out everybody. Let's be honest here. Just because you go, just because you're in the highest division doesn't mean if you move down, you're automatically going to like roll through everybody. That's not going to be the case. But go down there, work on what's wrong, find out what's wrong, and then maybe the season after, right? This time next year, go back up to competitive because like it's a waste of their time and it's a waste of their money to keep on coming out and at the most having one win, maybe two in a good season. Right? Like you said, 6-36 over the last 4 years. You're not even
Yeah,
averaging 2 wins a year
around
over your
yeah,
last 4 seasons.
yeah. No, something that's good. If you had to compare, if you had to do a comparison on no regard for one NFL team, what team would it be?
I was thinking so when you started talking about them, I was starting to think of Flag Slayer Corp, but NFL team, another team, Flag Slayer Corp in Division Two. They should be Division Three. Uh, I think it's like I want to say the Jets, but I
Okay,
feel like No Regard has more talent than the Jets do. Like
okay.
in terms of, I mean, these guys on their prime playing tackle, you can maybe even make that argument. But I mean, they're a team that they struggle at the quarterback position annually. So you have what the time Sauce Gardner, right? Obviously you have Garrett Wilson, you have Brees Hall. So I mean, for these guys, let's say that's going to be I don't know Sanders and Jordan Terrell, for example. You have some leaders on your defense. So guys like Ryan Perry, obviously Kendall Myers, right? So this talent, you know what? I'm going to say the Jets. I'm talking myself into it. I'm going to say
Okay.
the Jets because there are pieces there you can build a good team with, but they lack the production consistently out of the quarterback position, and some of the other positions kind of fall off too in terms of execution and in terms of just knowing how to win, which is odd because this team is full of veterans who have won championships, but together collectively, at least under the no regard banner, they've proven that they can't win. And
Mhm.
they've done a lot of losing. Usually you're supposed to follow that by a lot of winning. Just the winning hasn't happened for the squad.
Okay. I was gonna say Browns. It was that's where I was going with. I thought you were gonna.
But the
I
Browns
thought
made
I
the playoffs like 2 years ago, I think it was. Am I wrong?
well, no regard made the
With
playoffs too 2 years ago too. So I mean,
yeah, yeah, but that's by default. That's what. Because everybody made the playoffs. That's different than actually earning your way into the dance, right? Yeah, sorry, not 2 years ago. What am I saying? With Baker Mayfield, that has to be more than 2 years.
Like
That's what I think 5 years
2019,
ago.
like 5 years ago, I think 5, 6 years ago,
Yeah,
like
it feels like
2019.
it's a lot sooner than that. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
So anyways, Battle of Blue Dry 10.1 versus No Regard. Blue Dry takes it down, 24-12, and then we had Party Crashers and KGP that also played just this Saturday right after them, and Party Crashers take it down 28-13, where at halftime the game was pretty close. It was 12-13, and then Party Crashers just went on a roll and they took care of business, shutting out KGP, scoring zero in the second half, and they scored 15, I want to say, or 16 in the second half. So they take it down, and they pretty much with that win they clinched the number one seed. So they get a pretty good first round playing Blue Dry 10.1, so that's pretty good for them. They don't have to play any of the powerhouse teams or any of those teams that where if you have a bad game you're gonna lose. I'm not saying Blue Dry can't get upset versus Party Crashers. It's gonna just be unlikely. Like even if I feel like even Party Crashers, even if they have a bad game, which I don't see them having a bad game with the roster that they have with Emerson, John Slee, the double quarterback option. Their defense is super elite. They have ball hawks for with Mendel. You have Kejon on the back end too. Just a bunch of talent. I think they're gonna just run over them, but it's still a good first matchup for them, so they don't have to play any of those elite teams like Montreal Magic, KGP, Flag One, Raw Dogs, Braves. So they go into the first round as a true number one. Like you kind of get that a true benefit of being a number one seed.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They earned it.
You know, compared to
They
like
definitely
Braves,
earned
where
it.
you could play Montreal Magic first round, and like I mean, it's Montreal Magic in the day. It's Dan Lazera. It's a harder matchup compared to what Party Crashers are going to go through. Um, let's move on to co-ed 5v5.
Scored 5v5.
Yeah.
I know looking at it here, right? It's interesting again when we look at the schedule, right? Like you have, so I know Team Rocket, so they're like the AFC, right? So Team Rocket coming in, they're 1-8 right now, so they're taking on the spicy Braves, who are 6-3, sitting in fourth place. So that matchup's taking place. Pardon me, tomorrow at Stady Bear. So that's going to be the only game for Week 14. The season ends Week 15, uh, next Sunday with Nice to Meet You against Gundam. I know week 13, so we had 3 games this past week. So last Sunday at Steady Bear, we had the Spicy Braves. They knocked off Nice to Meet You 38-33.
Mhm.
This past Monday in Brassard, we had Flagmont de Quad knocking off ATs and Dummies 42-34. And then also on Monday night at Steady Bear, we had Maple Syrup pretty much almost doubling up Airbuds 47-24.
Yeah. So we had 3 games. Um, Huge game for Maple Syrup. Um, Gave us pretty much a beat down that game. So good job for them. It also clinched them the number 2 seed, because if they end up losing that game, I believe we would have. I believe Airbuds would have jumped them, so they would have took the 2 seed, and Maple Syrup would have had the 3 seed, unless Spicy Braves win, and then there's gonna be a 3-way tie. Then it gets a bit complicated, but don't need to pretty much look at that. Now you kind of have Flagmois that secures the number 1 seed. Maple Syrup technically has the 2 seed. Did they play? I think Maple Syrup played Spicy Braves and they lost. So Spicy Braves actually gets the tie break on. Sorry, Spicy Braves actually gets a tie break on Maple Syrup. So if Spicy Braves beat Team Rocket, which they should, they actually will go into the 2 seed, and then Maple Syrup will take the three, Airbuds will get the four, Gundam will get the five, ATMs will get the six, Nice to Meet You will get the seven, and Team Rocket will get the eight. So you're gonna have some pretty interesting matchups. You're gonna have Flagmon versus Team Rocket. Maple Syrup will play Nice to Meet You. You have Air. You'll have Spicy Braves versus AT and Dummies, and then you have Airbuds versus Gundam. So a lot of interesting matchups. If everything goes how it should go, which I'm pretty sure it will, on the next games that are going to happen. I don't see Team Rocket beating Spicy Braves, and then Nice to Meet You and Gundams. Their game doesn't really matter who wins or loses.
Yeah. So it'd be. I mean, listen. Again, upsets could happen. You never know. We'll have to wait and see. But ideally, Team Rock is going to finish the regular season with a 1-9 record. And like I said, like first round they would have probably Flatwan on the sack because again Flatwan. So yeah, Flatwan again, like you said, are already locked in to their one seed. Right? So you look at the regular season between those two teams. At least if it ends up being a one versus a matchup, right? I mean, Team Rocket got smoked 48-19 earlier this
Yeah.
year by Flag One Quad, right? So I mean, you never know. Maybe, and they also lost 42 to 24, right? So I mean, maybe it was a better result the second meeting compared to the first. And you never know, right? You have to get onto the field and you have to win. I had a conversation yesterday with Keon, who's also a fellow writer and he's been a guest on this podcast before. And he said, "Yeah, man, come to playoffs, obviously, we look at the seedings and that, but he's like, you have to go onto the field and play." And I go, "That's exactly it, man. You never know. We've seen upsets before.
Mhm.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, we'll get into a playoff preview once the regular season wraps up. But yeah, like I said, two big games coming up here to close out the regular season in this division. Do you think there's gonna be any surprises the rest of the way, or you think like we're pretty much clear sailing or smooth sailing, I should say, for the rest of the way in this division?
Like how those standings are and stuff like that, or do I?
Any,
Or
or just maybe even like a breakout team or breakout performance, like or maybe any sleepers you think come
oh,
playoff
okay.
time or
Not really. Like this season's been very. I find it's been sort of what I expected, just because how most of the teams are. Again, Team Rocket kind of talked about them. They're the one team that has the most struggling roster. Nice to Meet You is a brand new team with Ben. You have Ben, Rory, Bakari, um, Alice, Abby. So again, a lot of players that just never played with each other, so the chemistry is not all there. So like again, I'm not surprised that they're the record they are. ATs and dummies. You have Sarah Parker at quarterback. It's a bit. I find it's a bit more difficult playing 5v5 as a women's core QB when you're kind of getting back into the co-ed system. The game is a bit faster. The rushes are a bit faster. You don't get to kind of do what you want to do in most situations, and you have to change your game. You have to change your gameplay compared to how she usually plays in women's. It's faster. Co-ed is way faster. The
yeah,
gaps are
yeah,
smaller. You don't have the privilege of doing what you usually do. So again, the fact that they're 3-7 doesn't really surprise me. Gundam doesn't surprise me. You have veteran Tam. You have Jean Slee right now as one of the top quarterbacks in 5v5. You have a good casting role for the women's as well. So again, Braves 6-3. I mean, they should be probably 9-1 or 8-2. They end up forfeiting two games to Airbuds. I think they probably would have split 1-1 in that situation. Maybe they would have stole two, but they should be in a higher seed. Airbuds again, veteran team. This team I'm on. You have me, you have Breezewell, you have Emma, you have Constant. So you have a lot of flag talent. Jamal Noel. So I'm not surprised that we're one of the top teams. And then Maple Syrup, defending champs, co-ed, won for the past like 4 years, back to back to back to back. So a lot of good chemistry there. And then Flagmon de Croix. That's Flagmon de Croix. It's a bit surprising, but again, their casting role is really good. You know, you have members of Team Canada on the women's side, and then you also have members as Team Canada on the men's side as well. You have Kushlo, you have Alex Neto Pease. Um, Looking at some of the other players, you have Rosalie, um, you have JP as rusher. You have Justin Cote. I think she's a member of UK Montreal. So I mean, like it's. I think everything that's happened this season for Co-ed 5v5, I'm not surprised at all. Like I think it's been a great season. I think it's again I think this was kind of like a trial run as well for Co-ed 5v5. It's brand new, so I think they kind of want to see how the reaction is going to be for the people. The fact that we had eight
Yeah.
teams in this division, and I think a lot of people like it. And again, we had Guillaume on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he also said like this is how 5v5 is what's played in tournaments all over Canada and North America,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to practice, and this is the best way to practice. And the talent that you get to compete against is probably some of the best talent that you'll see. I want to say, kind of in the world to an extent, So it's great to see. I think it's gonna just grow large. Like I think it's gonna grow bigger. I think more teams are gonna kind of get into it. I have a feeling you'll probably see maybe like a fit squad that's gonna start joining. Maybe a plenty of fish. Have
Yep.
Cast kind of throw in 5v5. I think that's something she's kind of used to since she's used to be playing in women's when they brew it, and so I think that's also something that she's kind of used to. So maybe she'll feel comfortable throwing in 5v5 instead of doing 6v6s. But to answer your question, from everything I said, I'm not I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all for everything that's happened so far this season. What
And
I'm
again,
really sorry, go.
no, I was gonna say, speaking to your point, right? Again, 8 teams in year one of this co-ed 5v5. I expect this division to keep on growing by leaps and bounds over the next upcoming seasons. Actually, you know what? Speaking of growing in leaps and bounds, I'll say it now, little plug here. Don't forget, spring registration has officially started, right? So if you want to register your team for the spring season, make sure you get it in FlagPlusFootball.com. You can register your team, or you can register yourself as an individual. I know some teams have already signed up. Some players I can see on the Facebook post every day, hey, I'm looking for a team, or teams like, hey, we're looking for this piece or that piece. So get on the flatplusfootball.com. Make sure you register your team for the upcoming spring/summer season because spots will be filling up quick. So make sure you go out and do that.
Mhm. For sure.
So you were saying?
I completely forgot. I lost my memory. I lost the track of what I was going to say.
Okay. Well, again,
Um,
talking about 5v5.
Oh, yeah, I was
Go ahead.
saying I'm excited for playoffs. I'm really excited
Okay.
for playoffs. I personally think Flagmont is gonna beat Team Rocket, but that's just my opinion. They beat them twice. Flagmont is a really good team. Team Rocket, no offense to you guys, been a hard year. Again, it is what it is. I think it's the weakest roster, but again, you're kind of saying you have to go out, you have to go compete. But other than that first matchup, any other matchup, it could go any either way. I think Maple Syrup could lose, we could lose Airbud, Spicy Braves, got 18W, ATs and dummies. Nice to meet you. I think anyone else could win that game. And that's
100%. Yeah.
one thing I'm excited about, just to kind of see who's gonna be winning, who's gonna be losing. Plus, it's gonna be pretty cool because this is gonna be the first ever. If you win this championship, you're gonna be the first team to win co-ed 5v5. So that's like history kind of, so you'd be like, oh yeah, we know about that, we're the first team that won it. So
Exactly.
that's pretty much a lot of bragging rights are on the line right there, so I think that's pretty cool.
100%. You want to be the first to do something. Like it's always special, right? So yeah, guys, go out there and do it and get that championship. The championship flags, the championship banners fly forever, as the saying goes. So yeah, go out there and
Mhm.
do it. Uh, and we'll see what happens again. Playoffs starting soon in this division, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
so
want to
let's
go?
jump into women's now.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Um,
go women's three.
we wrapped up here. Yeah, women's three.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at it right here, right? Exciting times, obviously, in this division as well, right? We're getting down to the end of the year. Right now we're week 14. We had two games yesterday. Dynamics knocking off Lioness 13-7. So again, Lioness getting a little closer, right? Lioness still again not able to get a W. But like I said, they were getting closer, they're getting better. They lost by a touchdown. Unfortunately, yesterday for them, that's actually the end of the season. So they finished with an 0-10 record, does Lioness. But again, we talked about it. They were getting blown out earlier in the season, right?
Hmm.
I'll put this in context. First 5 games of the year. So they took on the Hebrew, She Sparks, A Town, Dynamics, and Spartans, Spartiats. Over those first 5 games of the year, this team scored a combined 18 points. So that's obviously nothing to write home about. But again, like I said, it's a first year team, so learning experience. Let's fast forward now to the second part of the year, right? They're able to find a bit of stability. They were able to put some things together. No wins, which it's not the greatest feeling, but looking at the improvements of their offense, they went from scoring 18 points to 39 over the second half of the season, right? And you look at their last two games. Last Wednesday, they lost 26-20 to the Spartiates, right? One touchdown, one possession game. And like I said, last night, losing by 6 to Dynamics, right? So again, 0-10 in the regular season, but ladies, keep your heads up high because this is the start, hopefully, of something special for you guys. And you got better as the season went on, and that's all you can ask for out of a first year and a young first year team on top of it, right? So again, 0-10, but they got better, not just offensively, but their defense as well, right? Holding a team to 2 touchdowns, holding another team to like 3 touchdowns or 4. That's pretty good for this young first year team who I expect better things of in the next upcoming seasons.
Yeah, for sure. As you said, the last two games, huge improvement. Being able to score 20 versus a Spartans team. I mean, that's huge compared to I think they played looking back at it, they played them week 7 and they only scored
Yeah.
6. And then I think that's they played them
They they
twice.
they scored one more point, Lioness, in the first meeting, and they allowed one less point in the first meeting. So that's still improvement right there.
Yeah, exactly. And then ending your season losing by 6 versus versus Dynamic CCL. I mean, at the end of the day, you only scored 7, but you only allowed 13. You know, so you made it a close game. It wasn't a huge blowout. You're able to compete from start to finish, and you finished the season strong. You know, like I think the worst situation was like, let's just say they lost like 35-0. You know, it's like the last game of your season, you're like, oh, we got blown out, this and that. But no, like again, you played them week 5. They played TCL week 5, DMX, and they lost 27-0. You know, so it could have been completely different, but no, they end up losing 13-7. I think that's something to kind of look to be proud about because it could have been so much worse, and you end this season on a high note. So it's pretty good on their part.
And I'm looking at the roster right now, right? I mean, there's some pieces to build, right? I mean, defensively, they got 4 sacks out of like Shrek, right? They got a bunch of pass deflections, like LD Giroux, Juliana Gataz, right? Juliana Figueroa, Megan Odette. Like there's some pieces on it. They got a lot of tackles too out of some of those ladies. There's pieces defensively to build on. Offensively, well, like a Shrek again, 337 yards, 5 touchdowns, average over 10 yards a catch. Her Figueroa, Natasha Marcos, Odette, like they put up some decent numbers. Looking at the quarterback, Ellie Jour, okay, so she struggled, right? It is what it is. 8 touchdown passes, 27 INTs completed, only 42% of her passes. But like we've been saying, right, this is a learning experience, pardon me, for her, right? She coming into the season, it was a rookie season, along with many other the ladies on this team, right? So there's positives to build off of for the squad, and again, hopefully they come back like in the spring/summer season, and can be like, all right, we finished 0-10, it's not what we wanted, but let's build off of some of the positives. Maybe they could put together 2, 3, 4 wins this coming spring. And again, don't forget, right? Winter's always the hardest season here in FPF. A lot of teams forget about that, or in some teams' cases, for rookies, don't know that, right? So you come out in the spring and summer season. It's a little easier, not a lot, but a little bit easier in terms of competition wise. It's not usually not as many teams as in the winter. You come out, you use the winter season. Now you have your footing, you have your base underneath you, and now let's see if they can build off that. Hopefully they
Yeah.
can.
They also make playoffs too. So I mean, they do have one more game.
True.
They'll play. They're gonna end up playing the third seed. So my math is right, which I think it should. They'll play A Town in the first round. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's not gonna
Yeah.
be the easiest game for them. But again, they have one more extra game this season, so maybe get they able to score some points. Try to just try to bring momentum from your week 10 into your last regular season game into playoffs. So you guys didn't get blown out your last game, and then just go out there, have fun, and just try to get better. Enjoy the playoff game. Because one thing people don't have to realize, like playoffs, we said it before, playoffs is not guaranteed. It's
Yeah.
something that's offered from the league. But usually, some teams only play 10 regular season games, and their season's over. So the fact that you guys get a playoff game, I mean, just go out there and have fun.
And I'll issue a challenger here to Lioness. So Lioness played 8 times twice in the regular season. Week 4, they lost 38-0. And then in week 9, they lost 32-0, right? So I mean it's been a month since these two teams or just over a month since they've gone head to head. They got shut out combined 70-0 in both games. My challenge to Lioness is get a touchdown.
Hmm?
Get at least one touchdown in this game to prove to yourself. So you know what? Uh Aton is kicked our butts the whole year, but at least we got on the board and use that. Maybe even do it more than once. Try to get 2 or 3 touchdowns if you can, right? And be like, all right, at least we proved we can score against them because that's a hard thing. If you can't score against a team, right, that's a hard thing to take, especially in 2 games. So at least if you ladies can get out there, get a touchdown on the board, at least get some confidence, get some momentum, and then bring that into the spring season and let's make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. Then we also kind of going backwards. We had She Sparks that ended up taking down A Town. So we kind of just talked about them a bit. That's a huge
Yeah,
win for She Sparks. They won. They
yeah,
won that game 13-12, and they're really kind of like, to be honest with you. Um, I personally thought She Sparks was going to be maybe the top three team, but now I have no clue who's winning women's three this year. I was pretty high on A
yeah,
Town,
yeah.
to be honest with you, at the start of the season. Same thing with for Spartans. Same thing with Lehibu, and now She Sparks kind of showing us what their worth is, beating some of these teams. They're 7-2. They have one game left, so they end up losing versus A Town back in week 3 by 3 points. So that's one of their first losses, and then they end up losing versus against Hibu by 11 back in week 8. After that, they go on a roll. They beat Spartans 46-0. They beat Lioness 18-6. They come back, beat Spartans 35-25. They play CCL. They end up beating them 31-6, and then they get their revenge on A Town, winning 13-12, and then they end the season on a high note, playing CCL uh, in week 15, so pretty much the last day of the regular season, where they already beat them 31-6. So hopefully they go into this game with the same momentum of winning versus A Town and also blowing CCL out and taking this game as kind of a warm up playoff game, being able to just finish the season strong, and also if they get that win, they improve to seven they improve to 8-2, and they'll clinch a number one. They'll clinch a number one bye. It's what do you how do you we'll break down. They'll have a number one seed bye. So number one seed
Yeah,
and two
first round
seed
bye,
get,
yeah.
yeah, get a bye. So to be honest, I'm not sure if that benefits them, just for the fact that I feel like the top four teams, so Spartans, A Town, She Sparks, Lehibu, are just a bit better than the bottom fifth and sixth teams. So I
Yeah.
think I'm not exactly sure if it benefits you for not playing if you're going to be like the Hebrew and She Sparks. I think that extra game is going to keep the momentum going, and having a break might not be the best situation, because it's not like you're playing quarterfinals. Sorry, it's not like there's like four rounds, like divisional, quarters, semis, and finals. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
it's fast. So
Mhm.
at the end of the day, they get a bye. So they don't they get a bye, so they don't play quarters. They go play semis and then they play finals. You know, I think playing that quarters might help them going into semis because when they play semis, they're gonna play A Town. So I mean that's going to
Yes.
be a big win. That's going to be a big game. Again, they beat them by one, and then A Town beat them by three. So I'm not sure if you kind of want to take that week off and not play any like football, and then you're kind of now you're instead of A Town, they're going to be able to like they don't get a bye, right? So they'll keep kind of they'll get the momentum going. They'll end up playing Lioness, which I mean it should be a win for them, and then they end up playing She Sparks the week after.
Well,
So like,
so speaking to your point, so I'm looking at it here, right? You look at the number one seed, right? And the Hebrew. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of who I thought was gonna win it the entire time, but that's not the here or there. Looking at the schedule, right? They finish off against A Town. That's gonna be next Monday, April 13th. Their last game was Saturday, March 21st, also against A Town. They actually whooped A Town 41-18. But my whole point is that's 30 days off in between games between for Lehi Boo, right? And then you
yeah,
talk about it, right? They didn't have the playoffs after that. That's going to be over a month in terms of buys, really, between kind of at least your second to last regular season game and the start of the playoffs. That's a lot of time off. And like you talked about momentum, right? It's hard to go to keep the momentum going if you're not on the field playing, right? So I mean, there's only so much you can do at practice. Practice is nice to get out there and work on some things, but if you're not really playing games, right? That's a totally different scenario. So it's going to be interesting to see when the playoffs roll around if what you talked about, right? That long layoff is going to
mhm.
affect a team like Hebrew, right? Again, the number one seed in this division. And you can say the same thing as well about She Sparks. At least the only thing for She Sparks is like, if you look at their regular season schedule, She Sparks, their last game was so they played Thursday. So April 2nd, they played Thursday night. So again, like I said, 13-12 win over A Town, but their next game off. So they have pretty much almost 2 weeks off between their match this past Thursday and then April 15th, which is a Wednesday, as they take on Dynamic. So their time away from the field isn't as much as Lehibu, but it's still a considerable amount of time to be away from the game.
Yeah, it's a big gap. That's the problem with a 15-week schedule. You know, like if we only have 10 games in the season, so if you're a team that kind of like some teams play a lot of games earlier on, and then at the end they have no games, and some teams don't play a lot of games early on, and then they have a lot of games. You know, so there's
Yeah,
all you don't see a
exactly,
lot of you don't
exactly.
see a lot of teams where it's like spaced out perfectly, and it's kind of it's the situation when the league is so big. There's only so much the schedule builder could do. But
Yeah.
again, it's gonna be interesting to see. Again, I I'm pretty sure I'm kind of with you on the situation with the Hebrew as they should be the favorites, right? Kind of just looking at it, but I mean, A Town still up. Their defense looking pretty good. You know, their offense they're not scoring that many points, but I feel like they're probably one of the best defenses. I got to see only one of their games this year, and I forgot what team they played, but they ended up blowing them out. But there's a reason why they've only allowed 95 points so far this season, and I mean, shout out to them. And then it's kind of like She Sparks as well, right? She Sparks is the only team that ended up beating Lehibu, and they got them pretty good too. They won that game um, 26-19. You know, so they scored a decent amount of points, and their defense played pretty well as well. Their defense played pretty well. So again, I'm with you with the Hibu as the favorite to end up winning women's one, but I'm just not sold. You know, they lost versus She Sparks. They tied Spartans, which is like the bottom team. You know, like so I still think it's up for grabs uh, for any of these four teams to make a push to get an upset. And I'm very sorry what's the word I'm looking for? I'm excited. I'm excited to see how playoffs are going to be when it starts.
100%, 100%. Before we jump, I just want to say give a shout out to A Town again, 15-6 their victory over the Spartias there yesterday night. So good job by them pulling out a tight one too. So their defense actually in the second half held the Spartias off the scoreboard. So again, great defensive performance by them. Jade Curry out there had an INT and two sacks in that W. Virginia Alexander had two touchdown catches in that game. So good job by that defense for A Town again, setting up again Monday night, right? Pardon me, setting up a big Week 15 matchup again. Lehibu A Town and Dynamic She Sparks. I know tomorrow's game we have Monday night. Study Bear, we got the Dynamics taking on Spartias. So Spartias going to look to bounce back. Dynamics again, who knocked off Lioness yesterday on Saturday, looking to make it 2 wins in a row for them as they take on the Spartias. That'll be again tomorrow at Study Bear at 8 o'clock.
Let's go to women's two.
Women's too. We finally had that showdown we were waiting for. Originally scheduled for earlier in the season, due to an injury and an ambulance situation in Brassard, that match got canceled and put this past week. I'm talking about, of course, Chaos against the Nomads. The two, without a shadow of a doubt, the two top women's teams in women's two, and it was a beatdown. Nomads came out and just slapped the taste out of the mouths of Chaos, dominating them by a score of 43-19. Shout out to this Nomads defense. They picked off Allison Sobo 6 times. I think 3 times in the first half, 3 times in the second half, including I think the last 3 offensive drives for the Chaos ended in a turnover. And just yeah, these ladies came out and they played and they put their foot down and they planted their flag on the top of the women's two hill, saying that they're the best team now in women's two. Rosalie Cantain, 10 catches, 111 yards, 3 TDs in that game. Stella Chevrier, the quarterback for Nomads, 258 yards, 6 touchdown passes. And again, that defense, like I talked about, right? They had 6 INTs, 3 of them going to Sandrine Aubrey, which is hell of impressive. Mary Lou Cote Noel, who you know, she had 2 INTs. She ran one of them back to the house as well. That defense was just smothering the Chaos offense. They were all over the place. And again, they just laid, they put their plan, they put their flag down and just having that status now. It's a top team. What makes this game funny to me, Quaysie, is at halftime, again, despite it ending 43-19, it was a 13-12 lead for Nomads. Second
Yeah,
half came around and they did what they wanted seemingly with the ball, right? They outscored Chaos 30-7 after the break.
yeah. So I mean, usually sometimes when I'm looking at stuff like that in my head, I'm like, how do you go from being 12-13 and then getting exploded by 30? But I've been through it, so I completely understand. It happens. Not the best situation, but it takes a pick here and there, pick six, and all of a sudden it becomes 12-13, and then 12-19, and then 12-25, and then 12-31, and then pick like it adds up pretty fast. So unfortunately, that's a situation that Chaos got themselves into. But no, big shout out to Nomads, especially the fact that Nomads just came off from losing to Dream Killers, kind of
Yeah.
kind of around the same situation. They end up losing 31-13 back on Saturday, against Dream Killers. So you go from losing versus, I think Dream Killers is the number, I want to say
Right now they're fifth.
their
Dream
fifth
Killers.
seed. So you go from, again, no disrespect to Dream Killers, they're playing amazing right now. You have I want to say her name is Naomi, yeah, Fortin, the quarterback.
George Bees, yeah, the quarterback, yeah.
She's doing a great job right now. But you go from losing to Dream Killers by I want to say it was. I just want to get the right score here. You go from losing to Dream Killers by 18, then beating Chaos by 24. So a big turnaround.
Yeah.
Sometimes in situations like that, losing a big game, you come to the fact where, okay, we lost by 18, then we have to play a powerhouse Chaos. like we're kind of in trouble, but you bounce back with a huge win. Defense played great. You don't see every day that your defense gets 6 INTs, and also offense played amazing as well too, right? In that situation, they only got one pick six, so their offense still put up. I think it was 6 touchdowns that they put up. The quarterback, she put up, yeah, six touch. She threw for 6 touchdowns. So you don't see that often. After losing a big game, after sorry, not losing a big game, getting blown out by a big game, and then playing again. Um, I personally think Chaos is the favorite. Going maybe not as much, maybe not as much anymore. But I don't see Allison throwing 6 INTs again. So the fact that you lose versus a Dream Killers team and then able to bounce back versus a Chaos team, it's pretty good on them.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I mean, it's it's funny because you look at all these games, right? And so we come in and there's some games we look at, we're like, okay, these games are going to be standout games or games we're definitely excited about. Even sometimes we talk off camera and that. And it's like, all right. And then you get like some of these games that we're not thinking about so much and end up being really entertaining and going down to the wire. So it's interesting. Looking at it here, like you see, I'm sorry, let's look at the Dream Killers right now, right? So again, you talked about laying down a beat down there on Nomads. It's funny though for me with the Dream Killers is so they get that big win over Nomads, right? Like you said, last Saturday, 31-13. Before that, then the Saturday before they knock off Old School 37-13, right? So two blowout wins by Dream Killers. But then they kind of crapped the bed yesterday, losing to the Cavaliers, right? 15-14. So that's like I went into that game thinking, okay, Jinkers and necessarily think they're going to blow out the Cavs. So they figured they should take care of business, right? Especially coming off of a high of laying a beat down on a Nomad squad who then turned around and laid a beat down on Chaos. And it's funny just how the way things work. This is why I always say you have to go out onto the field and play the game. So I know even talking about Nomad and Chaos, right? I think we both picked Chaos in that game, if I'm not mistaken. But you have to go onto the field and play because not only were we proven wrong, or at least I know I was proven wrong, Nomad just came on and beat the brakes off of Chaos, right? So it's funny how the way this is, right? And for the Dream Killers again, losing to the Cavs came into that game. They were 3-6. Right now, the Cavs finish off their regular season 4-6 with that big W. Um, that loss by the Dream Killers is huge because they could have finished and tied for second or at least in third place, right? So now they dropped down with that loss to fifth, right? So that's huge when you look at the playoff standings, right? Because again, you look at the playoffs, what seeds 1 through 4 get a first round bye. Dream Killers are
Mhm.
in action. Dream Killers have to play now in the quarterfinals. So that loss was huge last night to the Cavs. So good on the Cavs for getting that W done. Setting up potentially a match between the Dream Killers and Turf Titans first round of the playoffs. That 5 versus 12 seed. Uh, but going
No,
back,
not exactly.
no,
Because Cavaliers BTEB, because it's not Cavaliers, Champagne Cavaliers, different
yeah, it's
different
different.
Cavaliers.
Yeah.
They still have to play versus Chaos next week.
Yeah, that's true.
If
Yeah,
they if
you're
they
right.
lose that game, unless it's a tie, it might be a three-way tie break, and that gets a bit complicated. Um, so Cavaliers beat Dream Killers in the first week, so they have the tie break against them. But if Supernova ends up winning their last game of the season versus La Societe,
Sorority,
which
yeah.
I mean, again, who knows? They'll go 7-3. Dream Killers would be 7-3. Cavaliers would be 7-3, and then it goes points against. Dream Killers are 174, and Cavs are at 162 with one game left. So they would have to allow less than 13 points, and then Supernova would also have to allow less than 15 points if they want to jump Dream Killers in that fourth seed. So I mean, right now they
True.
are not technically playing Turf Titans. I think, to be honest, I don't see Chaos dropping 2 games in a row. I think they're gonna come back. Um, I'm hoping they're gonna come back with some fire, and Allison's not gonna throw anywhere close to 6 INTs. So I think they get that win there, and then Supernova depends if they can take care of business. They they should also get a win, and then it becomes a three-way tie. Dream Killers sneak into that fourth seed, and Cavaliers drop into that fifth seed, maybe sixth seed, depending on how many points they allow, and also on Supernova how many points they also allow.
I mean, no, I still hear you. You're not wrong about anything you just said, but I will say Cavaliers, BDEB, that defense is no joke, right? You look over the second half of the season, right? At least you can even say the last. I'll even say the last 4 games, right? Uh, last 4 games, Turf Titans they gave up 12, Blue Legacy 6, the original Cavaliers or the real Cavaliers, whatever you want to call them, 6 points, and then the Wolf Pack, 18, right? So all that to say that this team knows how to play some D. And do I expect Allison Sobel to throw another 6 INTs? No, this has been kind of the story of her career, right? She's had plenty of big games and she's won championships and she's one of the leaders on this team. And obviously we talk about that tight bond with the rest of the Chaos Squad, but she has thrown tons of interceptions
Mhm.
in certain games, right? Now, will she do 2 in a row? That's the thing, right? Usually when she has a bad game, she follows it up with a really good game. So I mean, if you want to keep with that trend or that storyline, she'll bounce back against the Cavs. But I don't want to just assume that because that's how it's always been, more or less, right? Again, this Cavs defense is no joke,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think she's gonna throw 6, but can you say, like, how much confidence do you have in saying that you don't think she's gonna throw at least 2 or 3?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, she sometimes averages two INTs a game. So I mean, but again, they're gonna have Chaos is gonna have to rely on their defense at the end of the day. So there's also that too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do have to give. I want to know what BTEB stands for. So I'm gonna have to ask someone on their team because, um, so the Cavaliers BDEB, their offense is playing great. Their quarterback Daniela Charbonneau. I want to say Charbonneau.
Is it
Yeah,
for Cavs or Cavaliers BDB?
by Cavaliers BEDB.
Yeah,
Their
sorry. Yeah, yeah,
offense,
yeah.
yeah,
Dalia Charbonneau, yeah.
yeah, their offense is playing great. And to be honest with you, unless she plays horrible in her next two games, because again, sorry, Cavs actually have two games. I thought they have. Oh no, they have no. They have. Why is their record saying two? No, sorry. Okay, didn't update on the other show. Sorry. Unless she plays horrible versus chaos, I believe she's gonna win QB of the year as well too. So there's also that to put
Should, yeah.
out there. So she's
100%
kind
she
of
should, yeah.
playing. She's playing for her team for a win, and she's also playing for quarterback of the year because right now her stats are great.
Yeah.
She's threw for 190 in 8 games so far. So she actually missed one game, but she actually missed her last game. They had Morgan the fall end up throwing, and she did great.
Yeah.
255 yards, 6 TDs, one INT. So I'm pretty sure Diana would have done also great. But right now she's thrown for 1,956 yards, 39 TDs, and 4 INTs. So she pretty much has a great stat line. If you're kind of looking for comparison on other quarterbacks, you had Naomi. She's at 2,146, 44 TDs and 5 INTs. Allison has 2,139, 42 TDs and 14 INTs. So that's pretty much two. She has too many INTs, so that's the issue with that.
Yeah.
But then you have Daniela with 39 and 1,956 yards, passing yards, 39 TDs, and 4 INTs with a completion rate of 67%. So if she's able to get about 200 yards and she could throw for 3 or 4 TDs, she probably will win QB of the year because she would only have had 9 games played, and mathematically, like, it's gonna be close, but I think
Yeah.
she will win QB of the year. But again, she has to play again versus that chaos defense, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this game is gonna go.
100%. Listen, that the chaos defense, like Lemmy is the journey leader of that D, right? They're not going to lay down and give her any yards or any touchdown passes, right? She's going to have to earn it against a tough defense. But when I look at Dahlia Charbonneau, like again, like you said, 8 games played. She'll have 9 if she plays this game. 39 TD passes, so she's 5 behind Noemi Forte and here to bees. But Charbonneau does have a better completion percentage. She's taken less sacks, right? She's averaging more yards per catch, and she has a better QB rating. So I think you're right. I think Dahlia Charbonneau will win quarterback of the year. But Noemi Forte and her to beats, if she ends up winning it again with her 44 TDs and she does have more passing yards, like you said, right? I wouldn't be upset if she wins it, but I definitely think it's coming down to those two because, like you said, Allison Sobel, 14 INTs, that's too many. Clarence Michaud from Supernova had a good year, right? 33 touchdowns, 5 INTs for her, but she's only played 7 games, right? So I mean
Yeah.
that's gonna come back to bite her. She has a chance against La Sorority next Monday, April 13th, to add on to those totals, but I don't think she's gonna be able to crack. I mean, you never know. But I don't think she's gonna be able to crack 40, right? I mean, could she throw for 7 TDs against a sorority? Maybe, but I don't think it's gonna happen and everyone else in competition, right? Like Stella Chevrier, right? Same thing for Nomads, 25 touchdowns, 1 INT, but she only has 7 games played. So I think they're not going to be able to catch up to Charbonneau or Forte and her to bees. But again, like you said, for Dahlia Charbonneau is going to be taking on a tough veteran, playoff ready chaos defense. My question though, if I flip it over to chaos, is how do you ladies respond? How they got their butts kicked. It is what it is, right? There's no sugarcoating it. There's no way around. And they would be the first ones to admit they got their butts kicked, right? It's okay to lose, but losing 43-19, right, against a team who I haven't asked them any of the ladies that we know, like Emma and that, or Marilyn or Lemise about this, but I'm pretty sure they went into that game thinking chaos, thinking that they're the better team, right? Losses
As you
happen,
should.
but again, yeah, they should, right? And they got their butts kicked. So now, big game tomorrow, like I said, against Cavaliers, BDEB, who also want to prove that they're one of the top teams in this division. How does Chaos respond after getting slapped around like that? Did they find the answer on defense? Does their offense, as Allison Sobel, come out and protect the ball a little better, take some of the easier reads that she'll have, and do that, or will she just try to force balls in there and try to prove that last game was a fluke? Pardon me, last game was a fluke, and she wants to come back and respond. I'm very intrigued by tomorrow. I can't watch the game, unfortunately. I'm going to be in Saint Laurent scorekeeping, but I'm going to ask who's going to be at Stade Bear tomorrow doing that game to try to give us some good feedback because I'm interested to see what happens in that Chaos versus Cavaliers BDEB matchup.
Yeah, for sure. Before we go into women's one, I just also want to point out two games. Blue Legacy versus Turf Titans. I got to watch maybe a bit of that game. I thought Breezewall was actually scorekeeping. I thought that game was gonna end 0-0. It was it was very weird. It was going back and forth, but it was just stop after stop after stop after stop. I was like, oh, what? Okay. Both teams were like, it was not bad football. It was just both teams were kind of struggling. And then I remember telling Breezewell, I'm like, oh, I want to say the player. I think it was it. No, it wasn't Cindy. I think it was Erlin Constant, number 9 from Turf Titans. I was kind of looking at Blue Legacy's defense, and I was like, oh, if she does a hook and go, I think she's gonna score because Blue Legacy was like playing a man to man. Literally seconds later, she does a hook and go. Our quarterback Sarah Mold Hamel puts it up there, and they score the first touchdown, and they kind of get
Nice.
things rolling. And then Cindy ends up getting an air touchdown as well, and they end up winning the game 12-6. But I kind of found it funny talking to Breezewalk because we're like, oh, this game's gonna end 0-0, and all of a sudden it was 6-0, and then 12-0, and then ended 12-6. So I found that pretty funny to look at. Also, the fact that Turf Titans get a big win for the record. They move into the 12th seed, so pretty good win for them. They end up passing the Bolts and the Rock, so right now they secure that number 12 seed, which gets them into the playoffs. Mathematically, now they just kind of need the Bulls to lose and the Rock to lose. If the Rock ends up winning their last game versus Vanier Cheetahs, it's gonna be to the point. Um, it's actually gonna be, since the Rock didn't play Turf Titans, it's gonna be points against. And unfortunately for Turf Titans, the Rock is gonna jump them. But if the Bolts also get in, it's gonna be it's also gonna be points against too. So hopefully for Turf Titans to hold their spot, they're gonna need the Rock to lose versus Vanier Cheetahs, and the Bolts also is a team that I just want to double check. Yeah, a Bolts are also a team that didn't play Turf Titans. So if the Bolts end up winning their game and they end up letting less than 17 points, they also get bumped out. So Turf Titans is pretty much their playoff hopes are not in their hand anymore. They have to hope the Rock loses and the Bolts lose, preferably the Rock, preferably Bolts if they end up winning, just not by more than allowing more than I just said it 20, allowing more than 17 points, and the Rock they just want them to lose because they only allowed 197, and there's no way they're going to allow 80 points to Vanny Cheetahs if they do win that game. And then I also wanted to point out before again we go to a women's one. Um, we kind of talked about Dream Killers playing Cavaliers, right? If you look at
Yeah.
that on the stat sheet,
Five
the
INTs.
Cavs
Yep. I have it right in front of me.
Cavs win that game 15-14, right? The quarterback from Cavs threw 5 INTs.
EMUs, five INTs, man. I saw that. I was looking at that a few minutes ago and I had it on my screen. I went back to it when you were just talking about the previous game. And I was like, yeah, that's right. Five INTs and they still won the game. Like,
Yeah, exact. And Naomi
wow.
threw zero. So that means the
Yeah.
Cavs defense
Yeah.
played a heck of a game, because I kind of want to say I watched. I was kind of glancing because my game was after this game, I think, and I was kind of watching a bit, and it kind of just means the Cavs defense played a heck of a game, because usually if you throw 5 INTs, some of those INTs had to be pretty close to the red zone or maybe midfield, and the Cavs defense for sure stepped up, because the fact that Naomi scored, she threw 0 INTs, so that means the Cavs had to have at least 4 to 5 stops during that game,
Yeah. Yeah.
where their defense was put in a probably a weird situation. So just a shout out to the Cavs. Shout out to the Cavs defense, um, putting a making a really good defensive stop on a quarterback like Naomi Forte, where I'm pretty sure her defense got her in a pretty good situation where she just wasn't able to score, and because the Cavs defense just played so well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it here and like, um, pretty much average starting position for Dream Killers. They started with the ball each drive at their own 14-yard line. So that tells you that um, at least the Cavaliers were kind of deep in their territory, deep in the Dream Killers territory, and they couldn't get the ball into the end zone as much as they wanted to. Looking at it here, the fourth down comparisons, right? So look at it here, like there were seven fourth down opportunities for the Dream Killers. I think they converted on about two of them. Even on third down, they went 4 for 9 on third down, right? So yeah, it just boggles my mind how you look at those stats, how somehow the Jinklers ended up not winning that game. Well, I mean, well, those last two stats obviously tell you a bit how they lost, but again, five INTs is five INTs, no matter where you get it on the field. The fact that you picked off somebody five times, and you couldn't find a way to win the game is mind-boggling. And you also add in the fact that again, 15-14 win for the Cavs. Second half, the Cavaliers scored 1 point. Like I don't know how you
how's
lose that
it
game, but they
how's that
managed
even
to somehow.
possible? Well, they went overtime.
Yeah. Did
Did they
they?
go overtime?
I don't think they did. It doesn't say that they did.
So how did they score 1 point?
Yeah, you ran back and could no, that's 2 points. Yeah, that's right. Eh? Yeah. I don't know then. Interesting. Okay, so the score, the box score has it wrong. Yeah, you're right. It's true because even they had ran back a conversion.
It
It's
would
two
be
points, not
two.
one. It's
Yeah.
weird. Either way, whole point is you intercept somebody 5 times. Your quarterback
Especially
throws zero INTs. You should be winning that
especially
game.
especially the fact that your quarterback threw zero ints too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
also something. It'd be different if you threw five ints. If you threw five and another person threw three, like, oh, okay, kind of makes sense. No, no, no. They threw five, you threw zero, and you still lost the game. That's crazy. All right, let's go to women's one.
That's Cleveland Browns esque right there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Or-
exactly. I think I would be pissed if my defense if if we got five ints and we still lost the game. I think I would be pissed. I would
I think
actually
I come
be
back. I think I'd have to take a week off. I'd
like
be
I
that
would actually
mad.
I wouldn't understand. I'd be like, guys, we had five ints and we lost the game. And then I'll go to my quarterback. I'd be like, you didn't even throw int. Like I can't even blame you. Like I can, because she didn't finish. But I mean, like at the end of the day, like it's sad.
I'd have to have some serious discussions with my team and myself. So first, to be like, what am I doing? This is, I'd have to I'd have to go. So that would ruin the rest of my week. I hate losing. So you like if I have a loss in FPF, usually I'm getting older now, so it's not the entire week where I'm annoyed.
Mhm.
I'm annoyed usually the first 2 to 3 days after it happens, and after I get over it, start to
Yeah, and you're like,
focus.
okay, fine, rewind, refresh,
Yeah,
back to
exactly.
next week. Yeah, no, I'm the
But a
same way.
loss like that, sorry, so we're not trying to rub your faces in it, ladies. We apologize, but like, yeah, that five ints and you still lose. I'd be really mad. Like, I think I'd have to think long and hard about showing up the next week. I'd be that distraught over it.
No, exactly.
But
I'll be
anyway,
confused because after I'd be like,
yeah,
five, we had five, and we lost. Like, I can't even tell you if I'm like, yo, Brent, my team had five NTs, my quarterback threw zero. You'd be like, oh, how many points you guys win by? I don't know, we
yeah,
lost.
well, that's it exactly, yeah,
Like, what was what, what
100%.
was what was what was the beatdown you guys gave to them? Like, no, we lost by one. Like, all right, let's get into women's one over here.
All right,
So women's one.
so.
Oh,
I
you
so I
can.
remember we talked about this game last week, right? So week 13 now we had Sherbrooke the Verrier, they're knocking off Blue Pond. I remember us talking about that. I think I took Sherbrooke in that game. I remember talking about Sherbrooke, and I think I took them in that game. And speaking of beatdowns, they dropped a 50 burger. They knocked off Blue Pound by 40, 53-13. Congrats to those ladies from Sherbrooke. That's a phenomenal win for them. And just a beatdown of a veteran Blue Power squad. And then it was a Blue Power squad that had, Emmanuel Bronssard, right? She did not look great at all. Two touchdown passes, but she had three INTs. That defense led by Frederic Leclerc from Verrier, right? She picked her off once, she ran one of them back to the house. Matisse, Danju, and Noemi Gerard got INTs as well. Like this unit came out to play, man. I was impressed. Like I thought if they could knock them off, it'd be close, but nah, this was a blowout. Again, winning by 40 points. An impressive job, ladies. Very impressive.
Yeah, no, it was a great job for them. Again, we're coming down to the end of the season, so wins like that are huge for them. It gives them momentum, and at the end of the day, fourth place, fifth, they're playing a rematch, right? Top three gets buys, so they kind of share. Right now, you're gonna have Sherbrooke versus Blue Bud at first round, so this kind of just shows that they could take it to them. I figured these two teams are going to be kind of sharing blows. Like they're going to have a win, they're going to have a win again. So we have week 9, Blue Blood wins 40-14, so blowout. Then week 11, you have Blue Blood winning 32-25, and then we fast forward to week 13. You have Vetreal gets their payback, winning 53-13. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these teams perform when it comes to playoffs in the next couple of weeks because they're playing versus each other again. They're gonna have one more game versus each other for the first round of playoffs. You have the top three teams that are gonna get buys, and then you have these two teams battling out. So right now Blue Pud is up 2-1 with one blowout and then one close game, and then you have Vetka that won that last one where they won by 40. So it's going to be interesting to see what the results are going to be for this first round of playoffs.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So we'll have another meeting between those teams, like you talked about, right? Listen, if you're Sherbrooke very right, you have to go in feeling confident. I mean, you didn't just beat Blue Pod, you blew them out, and they did. Sherbrooke has been on the other side of those blows too, like you mentioned, but that's kind of one of those who gets the last shot in, right? Who gets the last laugh kind of thing. Right now, Sherbrooke has it. We'll have to see if they can maintain that part of become the postseason. Unfortunately for Blue Pod, they couldn't. Pardon me, not for Blue Pod, sorry for sure, but they couldn't follow that up as they lost later that day, so an hour later. So little celebration on the field, and then they turned around and got beat 35-19 by Sub-Zero. So they lost, but it wasn't that bad, right? 35-19. Okay, so it's 16 points, but against a very you have a first year team pretty much taking on the Queens of the Mountain, right? The top of the top team in the country in Sub-Zero, right? So I mean, Gabriel Deschamps, who looked phenomenal in that first game against Blue Paw, throwing 7 touchdowns. She threw three this time around against Sarah Parker in Sub-Zero. Sarah Parker, 5 TDs in that game. Laura Mollimard, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Carolyn Monquin-Joubert, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns, right? So solid outing by those three ladies, I should say, for Sub-Zero. And of course, Sub-Zero team being as deep as they are, they got contributions from other players on the roster, Matt Matilde, Sibyl, Sabrina Gervais, Alexander Cirque, I believe that's how you pronounce it. That Circe, pardon me. Catherine Gomez, so on and so forth, right? I mean, they came out, they took care of business as they should. It's just I think the focus should be on Sherbrooke more for this game, and the fact that they only lost by 16 points to again what many people think is the best team in Canada in Sub-Zero.
Yeah, and she threw zero ints as well too, right? So that's what goes to the fact that she was able to not throw any ints, maybe not force any balls, or just kind of not make bad or maybe just not make any bad throws, because again, that Sub-Zero defense is legit. They have players on Team Canada. They have players on, again, best university teams. They have players all around. From top to bottom. You have playmakers. So um, it, it's impressive not to throw any INT to a team like this. So you have to look at the fact that you guys lost the game. You guys only lost by 16. And your quarterback played pretty well, 25 to 38, 219 yards, 3 TDs, 0 INTs. That's not a bad stat line. It could be way
Yeah,
worse,
yeah,
way worse. So you come off with a blowout win versus Blue Bud, and then you come into a decent game versus Sub-Zero, um, playing. I mean, not the best, but also not the worst. So you can look at the good
yeah.
things in this game and also look at the bad things. But again, I think it's pretty good for them with the results that they got for that week.
100%. 100%. I know the final game we had here from this past week was the Matrix. They laid a beat down on Blue Pod 39-12. That was this past Wednesday at Steady Bear. So another blow up.
Mhm.
You look at Elizabeth Ashgard, right? 5 TD passes. She went 24 of 19. Pretty impressive. 212 yards, 5 TD passes in that game. Her top receiver is Anne Frederic Tardif, one of the biggest playmakers in this division. She had 2 TD catches. Elodie Fournier had a TD grab, as did Lara Azuka. Speaking of playmakers, and Justine Cote. So the team came out ready to play defensively. They got 2 INTs from Elodie Fournier. Again, Bronsard, 2 TDs, 2 INTs. Marina Scalzo Christian was her biggest receiver, 2 touchdowns in that game. And I mean, that's pretty much it. And I look crazy right now at the big picture, right? For this Blue Powell team, right? I mean, it's kind of what are they doing right now? Like their regular season is over, so that loss Wednesday ends their regular season. Of course, like we said, they'll be in the playoffs to take on Sherbrooke. But I mean, you look at the second half of the season, like they got blown out by the Matrix. They got beat down, like we just talked about, by Sherbrooke. They knocked off Sherbrooke. They beat them by 7 points back on March 14th. They had a tight 8 point loss to Cayenne, a little bit of surprising there back on March 1st. And then they blew out Sherbrooke 40-14, as you said earlier, back in week 9. So, I mean, they have 2 wins over Sherbrooke, but that's pretty much it, right? They're coming off of 2 embarrassing losses, and they're going to start the playoffs with that losing streak on them. Like, what do you think they need to do to turn it around?
I would say just lock in. Playoffs is not the same thing as regular season. These girls have been playing with each other for a long time. They have a veteran quarterback that knows what she's doing. It seems like maybe she was struggling a bit. She's thrown the last couple few games. She's throwing about 2 to 3 ints. eliminate eliminate INTs and just take it one game at a time. Again, they're playing versus a Venezuela team that they got blown out the last game they played, but you have to realize they did beat them twice in the regular season as well too. So they know they could beat them, and they also know the fact that they know they could beat them, and they know the fact that they also get beat. I think it would be kind of different if they sweep them, they won 3-0 because in the head like, okay, well, we don't really have to worry as much, but it's to a point where we have to worry about this team, so they're kind of going into this game with maybe a chip on their shoulder to a point where it's like they beat us last, so I think like for them just again just to lock in. It's not something new with this team. This team it's a travel team. It's girls have been playing with each other for a while. They know what they need to do to win games, and I think they're gonna go into this game kind of like just um what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to go into this game knowing what they have to do. It's not their first rodeo.
Okay, all right.
Um, yeah,
Um, okay. Look at the schedule. So there's no games. Week 14. Pardon me. Pardon me. There was no game week 14. Sorry. Matrix beating Sub Zero 41-6. So that
yeah,
was the outcome, and the fact that Matrix won is not totally surprising. They're a good team. Just the fact that they won by that much over Sub Zero. I mean, look at the Sub Zero squad, right? I believe they had their full roster. Oh, pardon me, I need some water for the most part. Um, so actually, no, I'm wrong about that success. It's Sabrina Gervais was not there for Sub Zero, so obviously that's the big piece. But congrats to the ladies from Matrix. Like Athena Ryan came out, she balled, man. Athena
hmm
Ryan was balling in this game. She finished it off with 285 yards and 6 touchdowns, right? So this was yesterday. This game happened. Stella Jean Georges, 3 TD catches in that game. Justin Cote, 2 TDs. Lara Zuka had a touchdown as well, right? So these ladies, they came out to play. Sarah Parker, 227 yards, 3 TDs. All three went to LD La Chapelle. But again, I guess losing Sabrina Gervais, not having her for that game, that really, I guess, kind of unsettled that defense, right? For Sub Zero, she's the leader of that a very aggressive and strong defense. She wasn't there, and obviously it didn't work out well for Sub Zero, again giving up 41 points to Matrix.
yeah. And also, you're missing Catherine Gomo, not Catherine Gomo,
Sabrina Gervais.
uh, Kaolin,
Oh, Moquin Joubert, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
she also missed
You're
that
right.
game, and I think she's a big part of that offense as well too. Sarah went
Yeah.
20 for 27, 227 yards, 3 TDs. I think if she's in that game, I think Sarah would score a bit more touchdowns. I think that's one of her top receivers. So not having her as well did not help the fact. But again, their defense was pretty much the same defense they do have. So Matrix did a great job because at the end of they still scored 41. So it just kind of shows that Matrix they played a good game. It was with not their starting quarterback either, right? So um, kind of interesting week 4. Um, them getting that big win off of Sub Zero and kind of moving to the standings, finishing the regular season as well too, 7-3-1. So one thing we do have to realize that that's a big win for Matrix in that game because the top threes get buys, right? At the end of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
day, it's gonna be 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. So you kind of actually no, sorry, it doesn't really matter because it's gonna be Matrix versus Cayenne anyways. Oh no, sorry, take that back. If Cayenne beats Sub Zero, right, they tie with 7-3, and then depending on the tiebreak, Cayenne beat them 27-7, and they only play a second time. So actually, that was a big. Matrix did a big job for Cayenne because it pretty much got Cayenne one step closer to take that
They
number
never
one
shot at
seed from
first.
Sub Zero.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're looking at a pretty big game this next week. I think Sub Zero plays Cayenne.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
yeah, I have it here. It's gonna be on Wednesday, so 2 Wednesdays from now, Wednesday, April 15th, Sub-Zero against Cayenne and Strategy to wrap up the regular season.
yeah. So that's a big game because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, the winner of that game plays
Mhm.
either VTA or Bupad, right? Whoever wins that whoever wins that
Matchup,
quarterfinal
yeah.
game. So if you're the number one seed, you don't have to play Matrix or Cayenne in the second round. You get a easier matchup.
Yeah.
You let
That's
the
it, yeah.
two and the 2 and 3 seed battle out, and then you see one of them in the finals.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's it, yeah.
it's gonna be a big game. Sub Zero wins, they get the number one seed. They play Blue or Vetriol. If Cayenne wins, they get the number one seed. They play Blue or Vetriol, and then the 2 and 3 seed are gonna meet up. So it's a pretty big. I think it's a pretty big matchup because it seems like out of these three teams, anyone could win, right? Matrix just showed it. They won. They end up getting that win. Cayenne beat Sub Zero in the regular season, so again,
Yep.
it wasn't full roster. But I think these three teams are well matched together, and I think by any given Sunday, I think any of these women's teams could beat each other. So um,
Give it
I
Sunday,
wonder if they kind
Monday, Tuesday, Friday, whenever Saturday. I
of
hear you. I hear you.
no, for sure. I wonder if they kind of realize because I think maybe they do because at the end of the day, you still want to win a championship. I know this for them as well. It's still practices, but winning a championship, winning a championship, and if it's you kind of want to find the easiest path to get there. It's
Yeah.
if you could do it, you're gonna want to do it. So big game between Sub Zero and Cayenne coming up next week.
Yeah, 100%. Well, obviously, next week's podcast will break down that game a little bit more between Sub-Zero and Cayenne. But like I said, yeah, it's going to be huge in terms of who finishes where in the standings and obviously bragging rights, right? Cayenne and Sub-Zero, two teams that have battled each other inside of FPF, outside of FPF for years. A lot of big names, a lot of heated rivalries between these two teams. So obviously, that should be a great way actually to finish off the regular season for women's one.
Yeah, let's go to co-ed 3.
And actually, carry the load for 1 minute. I will be back.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Kuwait 3. I'll hop on, put that on my
For sure. So I'll
screen
just
before I
talk.
go.
I'll just mumble a bit
Hop
here.
into it, man.
Okay, so co-ed 3, we're going into week 13. So I'll kind of talk about week 13 a bit. Pick Artist beats Hail Mary Poppins. I believe they claimed the first seed. I'm gonna go back and kind of look at it. Steelers takes on Podons. Sack, Catch My Balls beat Sacapero. Dream Killers take care of 149ers. And then Shakira 2.0 beats Show Me Your TDs. So that pretty much happened in week 13. Going into week 14, so looking at the standings over here, um, playoff standings. So pretty much still a lot of football. Still a lot of football that's going to be going on. We have 20 teams in this division, and can Delicious and Delicious still make a playoff push? Show me your TDs, 3-7. So actually, I'm gonna wait when Brent kind of comes back too. But I think the teams that are in the top 14, if you can see on my thing, everyone makes playoffs and the bottom is officially eliminated. I don't Show me your TDs and Volition Delicious. Unfortunately, they can't make the jump unless Fatties lose their next game by 50, no, 42. I think if they lose their next game by 42, Volition Delicious basically gets the opportunity to make that jump. So they're gonna need fatties to lose versus you touch you catch it by 42 if they want a chance into the playoffs. Other than that, we have our top 14 teams that are going to be in the playoffs. Looking at the schedule for week 14, we have a few games to kind of look at that have actually no week 14. Yeah, the games that kind of happen. Steelers beat Showdown Squad, so it's a pretty good big for win for there. Still, like Kip didn't play their game or just didn't get posted yet. So there's also that. Melissa Delicious actually lost their season versus Show Me Your TDs 24-21. So if they won that game, they probably would have gone to playoffs. So unfortunately for them, they dropped that game and they're out of playoffs. And then going into Sacapel versus Hill, Mary Poppins. Did anyone else get unfortunately lose a game that they shouldn't? No. Show me your TDs. Show me your TDs actually end winning, so doesn't make much difference. Now teams are just pretty much playing for standing. So the number one seed is gonna go to pick artists. They're gonna finish the season 9-1. Then we're gonna have Dream Killers that gets number two seed at 9-1 as well. Unfortunately, Pick Artists and Dream Killers, I don't think they played versus each other this season, so they don't get a head-to-head tie break. It's pretty much going to be based on points against. Pick Artists allowed 157, Dream Killers only allowed 206, so they get the number one seed. Then you have End Zone Cartel that's trying to make that final last push. They're 8-1 right now. They have one game left. They're gonna play Flamingos. So if they get that win, they will actually move up in the second seed because I don't believe they played Dream Killers as well either. So we will have a three-way tie if they end up winning that game. They'll go to 9-1 if they could take care of business versus Flamingos, which I believe is a team that's struggling. That are 3-6, so that should be a good matchup for them to bring kind of to build some momentum going into the last game of the regular season. But if they win that game, they jump Dream Killers being 9-1 because it's gonna be a three-way tie, and unfortunately, it's gonna be points against. And Dream Killers is gonna be the third team with the most. They're gonna be ranked number three because they have the most points against. So we're gonna have Pick Artists at one, Dream Killers at three, End Zone Cartel at two. Then going into Steelers, Pawn Dogs, Steelers got a tie. So I believe Shaquille Oatmeal has one game left of the season versus Sack Appeal. Sorry, there's a lot of talking here. Sack Appeal is 0-9. Hopefully, they can maybe score some points for last game of the season. But I believe Shaquille Oatmeal is going to win their game. So they'll jump up to the 4 seed and then bring Steelers to the fifth, Pawn Dogs to the sixth, Shakiras to the seven, and then so on. So there's still a lot of football going on, a lot of things to kind of look at, a lot of teams to kind of look at. But it seems like the playoff picture is set. It seems like we have our top 14 teams locked in. Look at the playoff breakdown. We have a wild divisional round, so 11 versus 14, 12 versus 13 in the first round, and then number 1 to 4 get buys. So again, for Shaquille Oatmeal, winning that game is going to jump them to the 4 seed, so they actually will get a bye. And Steelers, unfortunately, would have to play in. Steelers are actually going to play in divisional round versus number 12 seed after the teams are played from 11 to 14. So there's all that action. Looking at the schedule just for the last couple games, I kind of talked about it a bit. We have going into Monday, so that's going to be tomorrow. We have Enzo Cartel playing Flamingos, so again, that's going to be a big game. And then going into week 15, we have 3 games. Shaquille Oatmeal pretty much playing for that 4th seed to get into there. Sacapil is pretty much playing for some pride right now, 0-9. Maybe upset, maybe not. Who knows? Hot Dogs versus 149ers. Hot Dogs again, also a team that's playing for some pride. Fatties versus You Touch You Catch It. It's just playing to get a seeding, trying to go up in the seedings, so they don't finish in that last 14 seed right now that they're in. Hopefully, if they get a win, maybe they can jump up to the 12th seed and avoid playing number fifth seed if they end up getting out the divisional round. So that's pretty much it for co-ed 2. I'm going to hop into co-ed 1 right now. No, sorry, co-ed 2. Excuse me. So looking at co-ed 2, we'll start with the schedule. We'll kind of check the games that just happened. So on the screen, you could see going into week. So again, we had a lot of games week 13. A lot of games out. A lot of games week 13. What am I looking at? So week 13. So I'm trying to look at some of the games that kind of caught my eye. Um, Block Party takes care of business versus Shark Attack, winning 38-26. Venom, a team that I'm kind of high on, they win 42-19. Tea Party takes care of Mavericks. They end their season with a win. Block Party ends up losing versus Injury Reserve. So that's the game I was kind of looking at. Injury Reserves wins that game versus Block Party 41-26. So big game for Injury Reserve. Right now, Injury Reserve finished their because of that win. They go into 4-6, so it's a pretty big win for them. It actually, if they end up losing that game, it would have put them in a situation where I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have made playoffs. I think they would have been out of playoffs. I think McNuggets would have jumped them. So that was a huge win from Injury Reserve because if they didn't win that game, they would not be in playoffs right now. So big game for them. Um, and again, block party is one of the top teams, so it basically shows that don't count injury reserve out. Going into week 14, we had Kamikaze that beat no pads, no helmets, just balls. So it's a big game of Kamikaze. They won that game 33-14. Mavericks bounced back from losing versus Tea Party. They win 28-22. McNuggies again bounced back as well too. A little late, a little too late though. They win 46-32, but unfortunately they're out of playoffs. And they put a beat down on Sour Patch Kids, winning 54-15. We actually only have one game left in this regular season for Co-Ed 2. Easy Fun versus Back That Pass Up. After that game, pretty much the regular season's over. Back That Pass Up's looking to win that game and maybe jump into no, three-way tie. So no, back that pass up can only stay into that fifth seed. Losing the game not gonna matter. Winning the game not gonna matter. So doesn't change anything for them. They'll stick in that fifth seed, and they play Easy Fun. So Easy Fun, if Easy Fun gets the win, actually, here we go. If Easy Fun gets that last win of the season, they go into 4-6. With them going into 4-6, it's going to be a three-way tie with Injury Reserve, Shark Attack, and Easy Fun. Injury Reserve is automatically safe because
Yeah.
they have less points against than Shark Attack. So the team that's on the line is Shark Attack. So Easy Fun has to win their game, and they have to make sure they allow less than 30 points, 30 minus 26. They have to have a less than 26 points. So if they win their game, but they allow more than 26 points, they're out. So that's going to be a big game for them, especially playing versus a pretty powerhouse Pack That Pass Up team. Unless Pack That Pass Up realizes they can't really move in the standings. Maybe they don't show up with a full team. Maybe some guys take some day. Maybe some guys.
They can.
Hmm?
But by that pass up, they can go from fifth. They can finish as high as third, right?
No, because the points
No.
against.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
No, they're stuck in that fifth seed. So I mean, but again, they're probably going to show
No,
up.
because no, they wouldn't be because look, they're tied points wise with Mixolage and Block Party, right? 14, 14, and 14. And back that pass up wins,
Oh,
they
they could
have
go eight
16
and
points.
two. Yeah, sorry, I thought there was
Yeah, they,
6 and 2.
they, they leapfrog
Yeah,
Block
no,
Party
they
and
could
Mixolage.
leapfrog. Yeah, they could leapfrog a lot actually.
Yeah.
Lei
And then
Wu,
hold
did
on,
they?
I'm trying to see if they played Les Woos this season because then they would be tied with Les Woos points wise with 16. And okay, so they didn't play Les Woos. So they'd be
Yeah,
tied points wise. So then it goes down to divisional record and
so they could jump up to third.
yeah. That's it. Yeah. Leapfrog, Leap Party, and Mr. Lodge for sure.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that's actually pretty good because then they'll get a bye.
Oh
They'll get a
yeah,
1
exactly.
seed. So never mind,
Yeah.
my mistake. I read it wrong. Um, big game for both teams. Back that pass up is playing for that bye, and Easy Fun is playing for their season. So
Yeah,
we
exactly.
get, we get to close week 14 off with a bang. And I'm pretty sure Easy Fun realizes too that they need to win the game. Pack that pass up is probably trying to get that number one buy. Trying to get a buy for the number 1 and 4, so they don't have to play the divisional round. And they're in a better seating when it comes to playoffs. When it comes to trying to avoid some of those teams you don't want to play against, like a Kamikaze, a Mavericks, to try to get the best matchup for them moving forward into their playoff run.
I'm
Um,
looking at a team. Sorry, I missed the first part of this conversation, but uh, I'm looking at Les Woos, right? I mean, this team, looking at it right here, man, they've won six in a row, right? They're undefeated since week seven. They knocked off McNuggies, Venom, Injury Reserve, Shark Attack, Party Mix, and Sour Patch Kids. Out of all those games, most of them are actually blowout victories, except for the W over Venom and the W over Injury Reserves. Everything else has pretty much been a blowout. So, I mean, this is a team, obviously looking at the standings, right, where they are right now. They're a team to be reckoned with. Labels obviously led by Gucci Amambo. The squad right now, second place in the division, 1 point behind Venom. So that's where they're going to stay. They can't climb any higher in the standings, but as you go forward into the playoffs, right? Obviously, after the first round is done, after having the buys and all that, they strong team. For me, they could be my favorites right now. Win it out, despite being second place to Venom, who finished the regular season 9-1.
yeah, no, they definitely look scary. They're especially a team that I don't think anyone's going to want to face. They lost two of their games. Again, they lost versus the Mavericks, where they got destroyed early week 3. And then they lost versus Easy Fun, where it's also a veteran team, where they lost 31-24. But other than that, they've been on a tear. And they end up beating Venom, right? They beat Venom 26 to
Oh yeah,
19 in
exactly,
the regular
exactly.
season. So definitely a team that's going to be scary to play. And then definitely a team. It's a team you're going to want to avoid, you know? I think the
Yeah,
top,
yeah.
again, I think the top 4 teams, Mix-a-Lodge, scary to play against. You have to contain Tristan as a runner and as a
Oh yeah.
quarterback. His legs are they can burn you, you know. And when you think you could catch him, he throws the ball. So that's a scary team. Venom, led by Paul Leclerc, Paul Lapai, Lapai,
Up here, yeah. Up here.
again, he has a great cast around him. So a team that also, if Paul's hot and his defense is able to shut down a lot of these teams, it's a team that you don't want to play against. Leroux, we mentioned it. They're playing well. Their offense is their offense is on a streak right now. They're scoring points, and then Block Party is a team where doesn't matter the season, doesn't matter who it is, they win. It is what it is. They win games when they have to. They win games when they're not supposed to win games. So it's a team when you're going into it, you kind of look at the roster. The roster is great. To be honest with you, they vibe off each other pretty well. But it's a team where like you don't want to what's it called? You don't want to underestimate them, right? If you do that,
Yeah,
they will
yeah.
win the game. And right now, they're the number one scoring offense at 356. You know, defense wise, they're number 2. So they're 7-3, but they're tied for the best defense, and they're the number one offense. So they're in the third seed, being 7-3, score the most points and allowed the least amount of points. So that's scary to see for a team like the block party going into the playoffs.
Definitely, and we know that team come playoff time, right? Like they're deep. They bring out the fans too. I think they're the most exciting team to watch in the FPF in terms of just the fan base they bring out, and it's the style of play too. Like it's like you talked about that vibe, right? You talked about the energy that they have with each other. It's something that even they get from their fans, and their fans give back to them, right? And it's always interesting to watch this team. I mean, they're again, they have championship. I was gonna say, I'm thinking like boxing and wrestling here, championship titles, but they have championships under their resume, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, they're a team as well, right? Along with Venom and they lose, they could definitely go all the way. So yeah, playoffs are around the corner. I'm super excited to see how this all shakes out here in co-ed too.
Mm. So we're hopping to Code 1 just to finish it off. Code 1 only 7 teams, so not too bad. We actually have our 6 teams in playoffs. Unfortunately for Plenty of Fish, they end their season 1-9, and they're going to be missing playoffs. We do have some few games left. We have Lego My Flag that has to end up playing the City Geese still, and then Fit Squad to end their season. So there's still a couple more games left for Coed One. Going into week 13, we saw IG ends up getting 2 back-to-back wins, pretty much on the Sunday and the Monday. So they beat Plenty of Fish, and then they beat Les Gardes du Touk. So they take care of business. Then we got Fit Squad losing to the Silly Geese, and then you have Les Gardes du Touk that made a kind of a comeback after losing versus the IG team by one. They win 30-14. So a lot of good football being played. IG team is they're on a roll. They looked pretty bad. I think they were 0-6 at one point, and they finished the season 4-6. So they won the last 4 games in a row, I want to say, or maybe 3 games in a row. So they end up beating Leganzuk 42-14. They lose versus like on my flag by 3. Then they beat Fit Squad. They beat Plenty of Fish, and then they beat Leganzuk. So they end the last 5 games. They go 4-1. So it's a pretty good finish for them, to be honest with you, because it wasn't looking so good, and
Yeah,
they end their regular season on a high note, I would like to say. And then going into week 14, we only had one game that was played yesterday. You had the Silly Geese versus the Merge 2.0, where the Merge 2.0 they won that game 42-40. So they're kind of showing why they're one of the top of the teams. And I believe with a win, I believe a win. Sorry, before I just want to make sure. No, Lego My Flag has a tiebreak against them. So technically, right now they have the number one seed. But if Lego My Flag wins the next 2 games, they will get the number one seed. So, but again, Lego My Flag still has to beat Fit Squad and then the City Geese. So, still a lot of playoffs, still a lot of football to be played for the standing wise. So it's kind of hard to tell who's going to play who because we could have a couple move. We could have a couple teams that are moving. If Lego My Flag ends up losing the next 2 games and City Goose wins one of them, it's a tie between 7-3. I'm not sure who was. I think Silly Geese has a tiebreak versus Lego My Flag. If they beat them, it's gonna. I think it's gonna be points again. So it's kind of hard to tell who's gonna be moving where. But it's gonna be interesting playoffs for Coed One for sure.
100%. Speaking of playoffs, we had a game that kind of resembled the playoff atmosphere yesterday. We had the merge taking on Silly Geese, who you were just talking about. That game happened yesterday in Broussard, 7 o'clock start for that one. The merge getting a 42-40 victory over the Silly Geese, obviously. So Kevin Wyatt for the Silly Geese, Mark Andre Reeds for the Merge 2.0, both quarterbacks threw 5 touchdown passes. So Gigi, Jardine Kabir Albante, 2 TDs for her squad. Phyllis Clermont, Emma Towns, and Aslan got TDs as well for Silly Geese. 2 TDs for Victor Boutin, 2 TDs for Corley Leduc, and then Serge Pilon Jr. getting a touchdown for the Merge. Looking defensively, only thing that stood out was no INTs by either side. Kevin Wyeth, actually, shout out to the old man. He had a 13-yard rushing touchdown in that contest. So that's you don't see Kevin run that out. He's more athletic than he looks. I mean,
Yeah.
he's pushing 50, but he can still get up and down the field. So he had a 13-yard TD run yesterday. So props to him. I
You
mean,
know,
unfortunately, his team lost by two to the merge.
he also likes playing defense too. He enjoys playing defense. He's one of the
Yeah,
guys like,
yeah,
yeah, you know, but defense, yeah, I mean, yeah, put me in, put me in. So that's interesting to see. Silly Geese didn't actually have a roster though. That's probably one of the biggest issues they had. They're missing Gab, they're missing Rochelle, they're missing Ben, they were missing um, Emerson. So they're missing four of their top players. I know Emerson had in their
yeah,
game, Gab had in their game, so Ben I think was kind of just a little banged up a bit. So I mean they didn't have a full squad, and they only lost this game by two. So there is that.
yeah.
Also, so I mean, it's a loss for them, but it's not a full roster. So I think they're gonna live by it. I think they're fine with the loss. They kind of realize they end up having Felix Clement. He ended up subbing. Then they had another sub too, but I don't think he had a jersey, so he didn't get his game played or whatever. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there's also that to kind of look at. At the end of the day, the merge took care of business. Whoever like you don't get to choose who's going to show up, so they get the win and they get one. They're one step closer to claim that number one seed.
100%. I just want to go back to something you said about the IG team, right? You talked about their start. They were 0-5. Like you said, they've won four out of the last five to win, about to finish where they are in the standings. Uh, it's a team we saw earlier, right? In the first couple of years of pardon me, of co-ed, I should say. My apologies. They were dominant, right? Making and winning a number of championships. Do you think with the second half turnaround now we could see the old IG team that's back in the finals and perhaps winning it?
I'm not sure because at the end of the day, they didn't really beat any of the big teams, right? They beat Fit Squad, bottom of the team, Plenty of Fish, bottom of the team. They got Streak, bottom of the team, and they lost versus Lego My Flag, right? So I wouldn't want to say back in the finals, maybe back in the semifinals. I mean, other than getting knocked out the first round, I don't want to jump too forward. Again, they have a decent roster. They have the guys to make the upsets because right now they're underdog team. It is what it is. But you have one of the top quarterbacks right now, Chancellor, that's playing well. He's playing great, and you have also Gucci. You have Ivan. You have a good casting role. You have Constance. You have a good casting role. You have Naomi also is there. You have good casting role around the team. They just need to execute. I think this year is one of their. I think again this year is probably one of their worst years that they had. IG team is usually a team that finishes in the top three. This year they finish in the bottom six. Sorry, this year they finish in the under the top three, so they finish as the fourth seed. Maybe yeah, they're gonna finish in the fourth seed. So there's that, but I don't want to say that they're championship contenders because they haven't beat anyone that's in the top three. So that's what playoffs are for. That's the reason why we play playoffs. Um, Fortunately for them, sorry, I just want to look at the breakdown here. Wanting to get buys. Um, Fortunately for them, they'll end up playing Fit Squad in the first round, most likely.
Right.
So I mean that's a pretty good matchup for them. And then they're gonna have to play either the merge or Logo by Flag in the semis. So we're gonna kind of if they get out a Fit Squad, I mean there's nothing's guaranteed, but at the end of the day they're gonna have to play one of these top three teams, and I think after that game we're gonna kind of see what IG team what kind of IG team do we have this season? Do we have the IG team that's been struggling all year long, where they only beat the bottom three teams, or we're gonna have the IG team that's been the IG team the past couple years and make a championship appearance and kind of show everyone why, uh, make a championship appearance or kind of show everyone like who they actually are compared to how they were playing this season.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so I know, like you were saying, all the action here in this division, it's going to be wrapping up soon. It's going to be wrapping up actually on April. Uh, 12th, I should say, pardon me. Well, April 7th is that Lego My Flag so the Geese game. So that's this coming Tuesday in Chattagee. And then Chattagee on next Sunday, April 12th, it'll be Fit Squad and Lego My Flag. And 7 p.m. kickoff for that will start, I should say, for that one to wrap up week 15, the final week of the regular season here in Co-Ed 1. So that pretty
Indeed.
much wraps it up. So we've done co-ed, we've done all the 5v5, we've done women. So I think that wraps it up for this episode.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, yeah, it's pretty much it. Just to let everyone know, registration we'll kind of say it again. Registration is open. We actually have it's pretty cool. We actually have a couple things to say. Um, this year we have a new co-ed 4. So we have code 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's pretty interesting to see. And also, there's cash prizes this year for women's competitive and also for men's competitive. So for the guys that for the teams that kind of maybe forgot, cash is on the line.
Go out and get it. Go out and get it. All right. So that'll wrap it up for this episode here, the FlagPlus Football's First and Goal podcast. I'm Brent. He's Quaysie. Again, happy Easter to everybody out there that's celebrating Easter. Enjoy your time with the families over the Easter holiday. I know this episode's going to come out later in the week, so Easter will be done by the time you guys get this. So hopefully you had a fantastic Easter with your friends, your family, and your loved ones. We'll be back next week with our regular part one episode and part two episode here. So you can check it out obviously on YouTube on the Flag Plus Football YouTube channel. And like Quaysie said, get out there if you haven't done it already. Make sure you register your team for the summer/spring season. Registration is now open. FlagPlusFootball.com. Get your team in. Get yourself as an individual, and make sure to check out the Facebook group and see what people are looking for in terms of teams and players. Make sure you don't miss out because this upcoming season, is going to be fun. We'll see you
Yes,
guys
sir.
next time. Have a good one. Yep. Shout out to Omar for sticking through this episode and doing the episode earlier this week. I know it's been a long couple days for him. So shout out to Omar as always, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Put the place up.